working. Good evening. Mike here, Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To. Hopefully you can hear me and see me. Friendly camera. Good evening. Missed you all. Glad to be back. Well, sort of glad. It's always hard work when you're having some sort of post-viral fatigue thing going on. Anyway, feeling much better. Calf is feeling much better as well. So we're about 85% health at the moment. So we figured we'd just carry on regardless and get on with it. And hopefully you can hear and see. Rush says, nice jacket. Get that heating on, Mike. Fun enough, we actually had the heating on for an hour today, which is the longest it's been on, I think, almost all year. Apart from possibly back in early winter of kind of last year. Well, this year, you know what I mean. So yeah, first time we've had the heating on in a very long time. Yeah. And usually for me, I've got a coat on indoors. And I was still a little bit on the cold side, so it's like, Kath said she was freezing as well, so I was like, right, let's put the heating on for a little bit, warm the house through. We didn't bother lighting the fire today because trying to get videos done and life, all that kind of stuff. Good. Dutch Jan says, sound is good this time, excellent. Andy Archer says, good to see you both back and on the mend. Yeah, Kath, actually, she was very rough. There's Otis. Hey, say hello, Otis. Oh, he doesn't like that.
A bit scared.
Kath actually had some form of pneumonia, and I was genuinely scared. A couple of times I went to bed and I was thinking, this might be it. So I was, yeah, not well at all. And I'm not sure if that was why I got ill after, more so because it was kind of like the shock of it all and having to run around, look after the kids, look after the house, look after the cats, and still try and do YouTube stuff. I don't know. But anyway. So, yes, feeling better, getting there. Matthew Day says, I found a full screen with chat over mode once, now I can't find it again. Yeah, that's something which YouTube really does need, doesn't it? Aletta said, I also had pneumonia, had to go to the ER and get antibiotics. Sorry to hear that, Aletta. Yeah, it was fair play to Kath, though, didn't call it a doctor. She had pneumonia before. I think it was just before we moved into this house, actually. So it's what? Yeah, 2004. So like, yeah, 20 years ago. So she kind of recognised the feeling and the symptoms and all that kind of stuff. And bless her, other than me pouring lots of hot fluids down her throat.
And hot fluids, hot salty water to inhale.
Yeah, and hot salt water to inhale. Yeah, she didn't have any other medication at all and just fought through it. So fair play. Yes, done well. John David Sullivan says, I had flu, not as bad, wasn't exactly great. Then my wife got it as well. Yeah, I had like a kind of flu-y chest infection type thing. It was weird because it's a really painful chest, but I wasn't able to cough much. And it wasn't like, it was weird. It was like an upper respiratory thing without all the phlegm, but I'm still like feeling really cloggy with it. It just didn't seem to move. It's very odd. But anyway, hopefully over the worst of it now. Yeah, it was completely different. Kath's illness was completely different from mine. And George was ill, I think, at some point as well during it. And he had completely different symptoms as well. So all three of us had completely different symptoms. It was very bizarre.
And Angel had it the week before, I think, when hers were different.
Wayne Taylor says, COVID, no idea. I've never tested for COVID, never plan to. That whole era is something which I'm quite happy to forget, and I don't want to perpetuate that at all. So yeah, we never got tested, and I'm not paying for a COVID test. If I feel ill, I feel ill, regardless. Aletta says, I'm feeling better too, and also feeling better too, and also getting used to my new knees. I'm actually half an inch taller.
Oh, wow.
That's impressive. Who needs, what are those? Cuban heels. Who needs Cuban heels? David says, COVID tests in Oz are free. Nothing's free, you pay for it somewhere. John said he got flu after having a flu jab, so I wonder if it was a type of COVID. That's the thing. I'm not going to go there. We get banned off YouTube. Although we probably won't now because we're potentially starting to be under a new regime. So for those of you that are living in America or possibly not living under a stone, you probably know that this week was the presidential elections for the United States of America. And congratulations to some and commiserations to others. It's the way the cookie crumbles, unfortunately, but America has spoken and life goes on. How it is going to affect the tech industry, who knows? We can all have our speculations, but until we actually live through it, who knows? Anything could happen. I am feeling slightly optimistic. Whether or not that's a good thing or not, I don't know. I think the last Trump era I've lived through personally was obviously 2016 to 2020. Other than the end of 2019 into 2020, where things obviously went off the rails, overall it seemed like America was doing pretty good, and it was a boom time. We were getting lots of innovation. Products were available pretty much most places. It was generally quite a good time. So with any luck, we'll return to that, and the PC industry will be in full working order, and we'll be able to get parts and all new stuff, and prices won't be ridiculous, and hopefully there will be no or less wars raging across the world, which obviously have a massive effect on the economies of all countries, and also the speculative investments of other massive conglomerates, which obviously it all goes towards oiling the wheels of commerce. So hopefully now things might calm down a little bit, and yeah, we can start seeing some innovation and some investment, and hopefully start seeing some computer innovations, of which we'll be looking at 2 innovations in technology tonight, specifically, hence the title of tonight's stream, Motherboard Madness. Got 2 motherboards for you to look at tonight, both at, much like the American politics arena, these 2 motherboards couldn't be more dissimilar in any way, shape or form. They're from completely opposite ends of the spectrum, so I found that was quite fitting. In fact, if I'd have thought about it hard enough, I could have done the thumbnail with one being red and one being blue, just to kind of tie it all in together. But I guess most of us have probably got political fatigue at the moment, so probably best not to go down that alleyway too much. But yeah, 2 motherboards, one of which is from... Now, some of you potentially may have experience of the Chinese language and may help me with the pronunciation of this one. So I'm of the opinion that the J at the start of this is silent, so it's just pronounced Jginyue. I could be completely wrong. I don't think you overly pronounce the E on the end. So it's spelt, for those of you that are listening, Jginyue. So I'm believing that's Jginyue. Let me know in the comments if there's anyone who knows how it should be pronounced, and if you're a Chinese speaker and you know this brand, please do give me the phonetics in the chat. I would appreciate that. So this is the B650i Night Devil. I keep on trying to call it Night Hawk, which has got to be a throwback from me being an 80s kid. For those of you that don't know, Night Hawk. No, that was Street Hawk actually, wasn't it? So that's a completely different thing again. Why am I thinking Night Hawk? What's Night Hawk? Is that a character from the DC universe, from Batman? No, that was Nightwing. Oh my god.
Trap.
Night Trap, maybe? Yeah. Who knows? Anyway, this is the Night Devil. This is a B650 motherboard, so for AM5 socket processors from 7000 series, 8000 series, and the 9000 series. I recently had a BIOS update to support 9000 series chips, including the 9800X3D. Well, I assume it is. The documentation for this motherboard from their website isn't the most forthcoming, let's say, to be generous. There isn't a list of supported processors for the board at all. It just gives you vague hints in the BIOS. So yeah, it's this is what I would consider to be a risky purchase. If you're buying or building a computer and it's going to be your single solitary only computer that is kind of like you live or die by, I would probably not recommend getting this. But if you're like the majority of viewers, you're somewhat of an enthusiast and you like to have a little tinker and you don't mind spending a few quid to get your toes wet into a mini ITX build. Obviously, it is a mini ITX case.
Can you zoom?
What?
Can you zoom into the logo so I can take a picture? My wife is showing me.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, I can do that, I think. Actually, I'll get it in front of the camera. That'd be easier. I was going to do the camera.
Airwolf.
Airwolf, yeah. It's the A-team board. So is that close enough? Jginyue. Jginyue.
Can you,
I think it is Jginyue.
William Bodie?
Yeah.
Okay, read question.
There we go. Hopefully that was long enough. William Bodie, let's have a look. Nick Barnes says pronounced Jginyue, aha, aka Billy Baslow. I'm not too sure about that. What did William Bodie ask? I can't see it. Is it scrolled off the screen?
I can't read it. Wuzai it fung.
Question, where's it from? Where's it from? This is from AliExpress. There is actually a link in the video description, so if you want to pick up one of these, you can do. Also, oh, actually, I didn't put the. Did I put the website address? I maybe didn't. So I will quickly put the website address for the motherboard itself in the chat. Why can't I paste that? There we go. So there you go. Hopefully, yeah, there you can see it.
Hold the box at a different angle. Reflecting.
Oh, sorry. Is that any better?
Oh.
Yeah, there we go. Right, so that is the B650i. So obviously B650 chipset. It's got kind of most of the features that you'd expect. One of the features it doesn't have, which is something which I think is going to trip up some people, is it doesn't have a BIOS flashback button. It has a clear CMOS button on the back, which I incorrectly thought it was a BIOS flashback button before I even bought it. Price wise, this came in at £78, including taxes and shipping.
Jginyue.
Thank you for the super chat, Glenn. 25 quid. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. I should have not acknowledged some of the chats there. Has that come up on the screen? Yes, it has. Awesome.
Right, should we
That's
do
working.
super chats?
Let's do the super chats and we'll get out of the way as well. We're doing that. So yeah, thank you very much, Glenn, for 25 quid. Was that like a mistype? It's supposed to be 250. Thank you. That's very kind of you.
Oh god.
Cap's broken it. I think that needs new batteries.
You just feel the boot treatment. Right, should do rally.
Let's do rally as well. Where is that? So oh no, click tech. I'll scroll up from the bottom.
Okay.
So there is Click Tech Kev, has been a member for 26 months, been a supporter. Thank you very much. Nice one, Kev. Where else was there? There was one from someone else. Rasher. Rasher's been a member now for 37 months. It doesn't say on there, does it? Oh well. Yeah, Rasher's been a member for 37 months. It says, howdy mothers, Rally, I agree, time is flying. Ain't that the truth? And there's a Rally. He's also been a member for 33 months. There's damn 33 months already. I know, it's just mental, isn't it? And also there's another super chat that came in from a Rally. He actually sent us a PayPal donation directly. Extremely generous. Thank you very much, O'Reilly. Much appreciated. And you guys are awesome. You really are. I think that is it. Caught up. I'll have a look through questions later. If you've asked any questions in the chat and I haven't got to them, just keep on putting it in there. Eventually, I'll come to it, or someone will highlight it and say, "Mike, answer such and such question." Rick's not been very well either. Rick Welly Bob. He's had the old. He's done the test today. He says, few fireworks going off here, nothing like it last Saturday. All right, John David Sullivan, this is interesting. So the first Chinese character means essence. The second one means Guangdong province. So essence of Guangdong or Huang. I don't even know how you pronounce that.
William Bodie, no, I did mean why you say it wrong.
Right, okay. So it's pronounced Jginyue. Jginyue. Rising accent on the E. Okay. I get the general idea. We'll just say it's... I'll go with Jginyue. That works for me. Another super chat there from ClickTech Kev, 499, says, bit chilly tonight, question mark. It's a little bit chillier than what it normally is. It's 22 degrees in here, which is fine.
Did you do ClickTech Kev's member thing as
Yeah.
well? Oh, you did do that.
Yeah. So yeah, got my my Mike's unboxing jacket, hooded jacket. This actually isn't available as a merch item. This is like actually, I went through, there's a company that we use and they do various different pieces of apparel. Quite a few of you have got the t-shirt, Mike's unboxing t-shirts. I like the way they do their embroidery because the brown for the boxes always comes out like a goldy colour. I kind of like that. It's got shiny. So yeah, I do like that. And this this jacket's been excellent. It's yeah, it's very nice and warm, but it's very lightweight as well at the same time. The only downside, it's got a very weird pocket in here, which unzips all to there, and you can basically get inside. So I think that's just so that they can...
Dave.
I'm pretty sure it's just so they can embroider it. I'm pretty sure that is why that zip exists. Like, this jacket is designed to be embroidered onto.
You want to get in the
So,
jacket, Dave?
anyway. Hey ho. It's a very nice jacket. I like it. It keeps me warm. Happy day. ClickTech says, it should be available. I'd buy one if I had the money. I think, yeah. That's not gone well. I don't think the light's going to be going back on anytime soon. Cav's destroyed it. Just because you're ill, don't mean you can destroy my shit. Fuck's sake. Does it need new batteries now, or just a new controller?
I don't know. I think it might need a new infrared thing on the top.
Oh man.
That's
No, it's working.
But can you do the super chat and then we can...
Yeah, I've done the super chat. Where is it? Right, Mick Woods. Thank you very much, Mick Woods. What do you say? Great to see you both back and on the way to a full recovery. I shall have a couple of beers to toast your health. Thank you very much,
Thanks,
Mick. Much appreciated. And £20 there. That's awesome. And there's another one from Mark Gaines. £20 as well. You lovely, lovely people. Just a little something to support the channel. Oh, that's so kind. Thank you very much, Mark. Much appreciated. I always, whenever I get a little bit kind of down about YouTube or what we do here, which is easy to do because the economic climate and the lack of new and exciting products sometimes gets a little bit, it does get you. Because every day I'm looking for some content to make. And it's like, well, what actually interests me? And sometimes it's tough. It really is tough. But when it comes down to like reading your comments, looking at your super chats during the week on videos or in the stream, looking at the generosity, it really does. It does make it all worthwhile. So thank you, genuinely. It's yeah, it's awesome. Dave Aikens put in a super chat as well. Thank you very much, Dave, for £2 heating donation. Can't match the others. Bless you, Dave. That's fine. Actually, Dave, this is a completely irrelevant thing to what we're talking about here, but did you take the little one to the fireworks? I was expecting to see your car outside the house, and because we live quite near where Dave lives, and also there's a firework display in the local area, which is quite a short walk from our house, and trying to get parking for the firework display is horrendous. So I said, well, if you struggle, like just park outside ours is fine, because we're a little bit closer than what Dave would be if he had to walk. So yeah, hopefully you did enjoy the fireworks. I thought it was going to be the week before last when I was ill, and I was like, oh, I really want to go to see the fireworks. And I even posted on their firework display website on Facebook saying, like, can you live stream the fireworks? Is there any way that can be a thing so I can at least watch it? And they're saying, well, no, we've looked into it, blah, blah, blah. And other people were commenting on it. But no one actually said that it's not tonight, it's next week. So I wasn't well enough to go out to see it yesterday either, unfortunately. Well, I probably could have done, but there's no point standing out in the cold for how long in all that smoky air. Anyway, I digress.
When the kids were little, Mike made us have these cheap seats, we called them. It was like some electrical box we'd have to sit on outside. Yeah, we literally, if you look up on, if you've got Google Maps, look for King George V Park in Downend in Bristol, in the BS16 area, and you'll see there's... Opposite the gateway.
Westerly Road, is it?
Yeah.
There? Yeah, Westerly Road. The Westerly Road entrance to the park. If you look opposite it, there's some houses and there's an electricity box outside which stays nice and warm because it's kind of got the fans and all the stuff in it. So me, Kath and the kids used to go in what we call the cheap seats and just say outside of the park, so because the fireworks go in the air anyway. So we would just huddle around this hot or warm electricity box and yeah, watch the fireworks for free.
But I'd have like
it was great.
a fir tree in my hood for about 3 weeks after. From where I'd sit in the box.
Oh, Dave says I didn't. She's got nursery lure gigging. Oh dear. That is a constant thing when children are young. They, yeah, they're just magnets for passing all that stuff around. Ira Wolfman, thank you. Gifted 5 Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To memberships. Thank you so much. So a membership's gone to G-Zone. A membership's gone to Hayden Trent. Still a bit foggy up here. Viali 100. Carl Worrell. I haven't seen that name before. Mitch 1977. What a great year. And Stephen OBG. You've all been gifted memberships. Awesome stuff. Thank you very much. And you can turn it off now, Kath. And you can turn it straight back on again. Because there's another one coming from Rasher.
Oh, I typed up the last one.
I know, it's nuts. Contributing now before I get too sozzled on my only night drinking. Bless you. And Rasher's off the vapes now. So he's off the ciggies, off the vapes, but still getting pissed. So you got to have some vices, haven't you? Come on. Awesome stuff. For those of you who've just been gifted memberships, so if you get gifted a membership, there's a few things you get. It's not like spectacular, but you will see your name changes color in the text, in the chat. You can now use the custom emojis. You also get early access to the YouTube videos, so you'll get member early access, so you'll get an email coming out when videos get sent out to members or ahead of general public. We don't do any specific members only content. Now, there's a good reason for that, although some people do think that we should do it because the members are paying and they should get something extra. We've always tried to remain very much a channel that doesn't hide behind any paywalls. So I'm almost 100% sure that every single piece of content we've ever made has always gone out to all members of the public, regardless. Now, it may be a staggered release, so like patrons, members, then general public, but we don't want to keep any content behind a paywall. I think that's a little bit sly of some people. Like if it works for some people as a business model, fine, carry on. But I think it's just a little bit disingenuous. Like the viewers have made the channel what it is. Everyone should have equal opportunities. Maybe that's my ethos in life in general. Like everyone should have access to everything, really. There shouldn't be anything that's just hidden, but anyway, that's just my opinion. Whatever. There you go. There's another membership from Raj D. He's been a member for 3 months. It says, hi, Mike, Kath, and all in chat. How you doing, Raj? Thanks for becoming a member.
Raj's been a member before.
Yes, yeah, 3 months now. And there's another super chat from Andy Archer. This is just getting nuts. We're never going to get anywhere. Andy Archer, £20. Thank you so much. Back to work bonus, Mike. Thank you very much. Oh, dear, you guys. Nuts. Absolutely nuts. So, thank you all. Thank you all so much. I'm losing track of where I was now. Stephen OBG says, hello all. Useful videos. We try to. They might not all be as useful as the others, but we try. It's getting harder and harder. There's a lot of stuff going on in the tech world, which is kind of, I don't know, it just makes me feel that they're starting to maybe price out a lot of people out of the market, especially with a lot of this newer stuff, which is probably where we come on to the other motherboard we'll be taking a look at shortly. But let's carry on with the B650i, because this is a really kind of quite a nuts little motherboard in various ways, because the way it's actually marketed. Now, actually, if I show you the website for it, so yeah, that's the website. I'll give you the, where are we? Stream desktop. There you go. Hopefully you can see that. Oh, let's get rid of that. So that is, this is their website. So this is the Jginyue, or Jginyue, whatever, B650i Night Devil motherboard. Give you the specs there and tells you what it's all about, and obviously buying links, etc, etc. Up to 96 gigabytes of RAM, up to DDR 7000 speeds. Obviously for Ryzen you probably want to stick around 6000 realistically. NVMe slots, and a PCI Express ×16 slot also. Now, if you look at the motherboard there, if you look at the picture, you can see quite clearly there are Wi-Fi antenna. But unfortunately, those are basically empty. Oh, hang on, let's go back to main camera a second.
I can get your attention there.
There's another, yeah, Kath's rattling my broken remote control for the lights at me, look. Oh.
Doesn't sound good, but it works. Works better now.
Oh, there's a bit coming.
Didn't break it, 'cause it was working when I gave it to you.
Oh, yeah. Actually, weirdly, this light has been doing some weird stuff recently. Here, thank you.
It.
I think that's the plastic bit. It's just the battery door
Right.
clasp.
Super chat.
Sorry, super chat. Michael Ellingham, thank you very much. Says keep up the good work. Thanks, Mike. Back to you, Mike. Skystalker, hey all. I am late. Glad to see Mike and Kath are on the mend. Thanks, Sky. Yeah, we're getting there. Matthew Day says my vice is buying computer bits, old ones. LGA 775 AGP. Wow. Toad says the clear CPU socket cover is very cool.
And we didn't do
Didn't do Raj, did we? Sorry.
No.
Raj, sorry. Raj D, £10, thank you very much. It says, nice to see you back and recovered. Well, I wouldn't say recovered, but I actually before we started the stream, I actually did have a sneaky nap on the sofa.
Sneaky, rumbling
I had my
house.
dinner about 6 o'clock. Yeah, done all my stuff today, vacuumed the house completely again, and I normally do it every single day, but recently it's been like, can't do it. So vacuumed the whole house, get rid of all the dust, allergens and all that crap. Did the review video for this motherboard. So videoed that on the B-roll and stuff. Went out, got some dinner, come back, ate dinner, and then it's like, I need to sleep. I need a rest. So I had like an hour sleep on the sofa with Maisie, bless her, and then got ready for the stream. So actually, I do feel actually quite strangely awake. So I probably won't sleep tonight now. Anyway, so yeah, as Toad says there, the clear CPU socket is so cool. They got rid of it now. They have, unfortunately. The Wi-Fi antennas that you can see on the screen, you can see they're attached there. So you think, well, it's got Wi-Fi. Basically what it is they pre-installed a carrier card. So you can actually put in an M.2 E-key Wi-Fi card into the carrier board and put it in there. So it does not come with Wi-Fi included as standard. So I just wanted to confirm that. Obviously, we go through the specs and stuff. It's all very much in like Chinese and a little bit of English. So key features, I suppose, 2.5 gig LAN, Realtek RTL 8125BG, which I incorrectly said in the review was RTL 8125G, not BG, but they're basically the same thing. Realtek ALC 897 audio, which is not brilliant, but it gets the job done. It does say there, I don't know if anyone's got this on the screen, they can screenshot it or translate it, but it says there, sorry, 1x M.2 Wi-Fi, PCIe. So I don't know what that means there, but it is a little bit misleading. People will be reading that, like I did, assuming that it's going to have Wi-Fi, but it doesn't. It just has a Wi-Fi carrier board to attach it to. You got 8+2+1 Dr. Moss or DR Moss VRM setup on there. DDR5 support, blah 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 blah. Chinese BIOS is very, very Chinese. You can change it to English though. And you've got 2 NVMe ports on there, which is pretty nice. There is an integrated I/O shield, which is also pretty decent considering the price. And you've got the 10 gig type C ports. And also you've got your 5 gigabit per second USB 2, well, USB 3.2 Gen 1, so 5 gigabit per second. And those I think are a 10 gig per second. So yeah, it shows again Wi-Fi there, but it isn't really Wi-Fi. It's just a Wi-Fi card. It has got debug LEDs, which is kind of nice. It says there BIOS, and you look at the button, but it's clear CMOS, not BIOS flashback, unfortunately. Although I've not tried it, so potentially I might give it a go and see if it will actually flash a BIOS. I don't think it will.
Our Wolfman says it supports Wi-Fi.
It does support Wi-Fi, but it doesn't have Wi-Fi. They've gone down the old kind of like when HD TVs come out saying like supports HD, but it only does 720p, not 1080p. Yeah, DisplayPort and HDMI. They've only got 2 fan port headers, so like CPU and chassis fan. That is it. So that's a little bit lacking. It goes through show there. So you got
translate on the phone might help with translation.
2 USB 2s. Yeah, I might have to try that actually. You got the Type E. Well, Type C it is actually. That's a Type E under there for the Wi-Fi. So that's wrong. USB 3.2, SATA ports, blah blah blah. You get the general idea. Rear I/O. Yep, you can see all the pictures there. So if you go into the software support or downloads, there is it supports OpenRGB. So that is what it uses for RGB setup. So OpenRGB, you can use that. There is also, if I go back to the main page, if you scroll up, it's not easy to navigate this, to be fair. Where are we? If we go to download, so if you go to the download section, you've got the drivers for the audio, but it's just Realtek. Excuse me. And you've got the Realtek drivers for the LAN. Instruction book, basically there isn't one you can download, so lots of luck with that. And kind of that is it. Actually, where is it? There we go. The BIOS. Now the BIOS versions are a little bit weird because there's one BIOS version there which is for barcodes with the serial number of this or above. So this board's manufactured after September 24th. This BIOS is actually version 14, whereas this one for the older boards is actually BIOS version 15. And the one below it is BIOS version 13. So yeah, it's a little bit confusing what is going on. It doesn't actually say what it is until you actually download it and unzip it. So the BIOS which is dated the 9th of the 9th is actually older than the one which is in, or at least the revision number is older than the one which is from the 8th of 22. And my board actually came shipped with one which was, I think it was this one, even though I've got the newer board. But anyway, there you go. So that is a little bit of information about the motherboard and what it can do. And let's take a look inside. Again, you got to think, this is about...
LAN or ULAN?
What? LAN? What's LAN or ULAN? I'm not sure. So in the box you get the crappy instruction thing, which is all in Chinese, so not much use. The Wi-Fi antennas you do not get. These I've added myself, but I left them in here just so I've got some in here. Comes with a single SATA cable, SATA, and you get the board itself. There is some other packaging in here as well, but I've thrown it out for the sake of it because it doesn't want to go back in the box very easily. So it's a very cute little board, to be fair. Nice heatsink over the M.2. That's double-sided, so it cools both sides of the drives. There's a big metal plate on both sides. You've got the clasp there for the GPU slot. You've got your diagnostic LEDs down there underneath, which is a little bit of a daft place for them, to be fair. But yeah, overall, it's quite a nice little board. Everything's nice and easy to access. It's actually quite a nice layout, surprisingly. When it comes to I/O, obviously we've seen this already, but just to show you again what it's all about. I've got the Wi-Fi card of my own installed in here, which is actually an absolute pig of a job. I actually chipped a tooth putting it in. Don't ask how I chipped a tooth. All I'll say is the metal washers that go on Wi-Fi antennas, don't try and tighten them up with your teeth rather than the appropriate sized spanner or socket wrench, because it will ruin your teeth. It did mine. Gary says, did you buy this on Temu? No, this was from AliExpress. There is going to be, coming up in 2 days time, is the Singles Day on AliExpress, so loads of bargains. I have been sent some discount codes already. Some of them are live at the moment, but they're not working completely, so I'll be posting those on the Discord overnight, so as we roll into the 11th of the 11th, I will be posting the discount codes in our Discord chat. I'll try and post them on the members tab for YouTube as well if I can, and possibly on Facebook as well. So if you're following me on Facebook, I'll post them there. There's going to be codes for the US and also for basically anywhere outside of the US. And the codes are not too bad. So I think if I remember rightly, it's about £25 off if you spend £120 roughly. So there's actually some pretty significant discounts to be had for Singles Day. It's generally quite a good one. It's basically their version of Black Friday, and it lasts normally like the best part of a week or until stuff sells out. So you can get some bargains. This would have been, I think, if I'd have either got it earlier or slightly later, could have probably got this under £70, which £70 for a B650 motherboard, even if it is a little bit risky and sketchy, I think £70 is a reasonable investment. If you're buying it as a single computer and it's the only computer you're going to have access to, maybe err on the side of caution and probably go for a branded one. But if you're a tinkerer, this is, I think, is a very good option.
Tinkerer.
Yes, Kath. Toge? What's he saying? Hey J Rich, Toge top tip. The front NVMe slot does not support dual-sided NVMEs when the NAND chips are on both sides. You'll sandwich and break your NVMe if you use dual. There you go. So top tip, if you've got a double-sided NVMe drive, so RAM chips on both sides of the NVMe, like, what did I have? I had a drive ages ago which had that, and it was a pain in the ass to fit. But yeah, it won't fit in that slot, so you want to put it on the back one possibly. Or just be a little bit cautious with using the supplied NVMe cooling bracket. But anyway, nice little board. I have actually been playing with it a bit already, and some of the things which people have been trying to find, or they said they couldn't find on the board, such as how to adjust things like the onboard graphics, the amount of memory which you can allocate to it. That's all in the latest version of the BIOS. There's also options for fan control. You've got Expo or XMP settings. You can change the language. Some people said that the BIOS settings didn't stay after a reboot, but I found that this did. Even after a power down and then start up again, all the BIOS settings stayed in there, no problems at all. Some of it again is a little bit kind of difficult to navigate because there's still some Chinese wording in, even with the English section. So just kind of buyer beware. I've done a BIOS flashback video on this already. I've done the review video on it. I will do another BIOS walkthrough video just in case people are interested. And then I've also got the processor. So I bought a Ryzen 5 8600G. Not in the box at the moment, because I left it over there. I'm actually quite surprised at how good this is, considering what it is. I haven't done some full graphics testing on it or anything yet, but actually quite impressed. So if you're wondering what sort of level processor it is, it performs roughly the same as a 7500F, which is actually still quite a good processor. So considering this has only half the PCI Express lanes for the GPU, that is going to be partially a limiting factor. But I think if you're buying a 8600G, really you're buying this to use the onboard graphics, or you're not going to be buying a massively, hugely powerful graphics card to go with it if you are going to at a later date. So for very small ITX builds, I think this is absolutely perfect. And other than spending maybe 70 quid more for the 8700G, which gives you a little bit more performance and extra cores, I don't think it's worth it personally. This comes in at the moment about £150. Still quite expensive for what it is, but historically APUs have always been quite expensive and have more or less held their value for a lot longer than their non-APU counterparts. So yeah, not too bad. Zero Defects says, ITX live build. There probably will be one at some point, but it won't be tonight. Sorry, so I'm looking through the chat now, see if there's anything I've missed or anything. Charles Ballard says, Mike has strange culinary habits.
Biting that thing.
Oh yeah, I do regret it. I can feel it. There's a bit of my tooth missing.
Howware automated email service.
Where's that?
Down there at the bottom. I have a question.
Howware automated email service.
And later on, he says ignore the name.
Okay, I will. Can't see it. I have a question. I've got a MAG X670i Tomahawk Wi-Fi. Nice. I set up everything, but there's a red light showing on the board and a yellow showing on the board. Know anything about it? Yeah, that'll be your that's RAM. So either you haven't got your EPS cable fully connected, the power cable in the top left-hand corner of the motherboard, or your RAM sticks are in the wrong slots, or the RAM isn't compatible. So I would suggest taking out the RAM altogether, putting just one stick into slot number 2. That's counting from the CPU outwards. So CPU, RAM 1, RAM 2, RAM 3, RAM 4. Put your memory in slot number 2. Try that, see if it boots. Sometimes it will do what is known as memory training. So that takes quite a while. It can take a few minutes. So give it like 3 or 4 minutes to actually do something, or at least maybe hear the CPU fan kind of ramp up and ramp down a little bit. But those are the things that I would be looking at. Toad says, no matter how cheap the board is, the BIOS is painful for a noob. If you're building a NAS, then clearly you're an advanced user.
And also,
yeah, I would agree with that.
More help.
Yeah, if you need any more help, or with your PC not booting or any of that stuff, head over to our Discord. I'll put a link in the chat now, and you can ask questions in there. Obviously, I'm not going to answer questions whilst I'm on a stream, so don't ping me or tag me, because I'm not going to do it.
He's replied to what you've said.
All right.
And Daswin Music's another one with a question.
Also, automated hardware email service thing. What processor are you using? Is your BIOS up to date? Have you flashed the BIOS for the processor you're using? If it's a new modern processor, perhaps the BIOS on your board isn't new enough.
And what cable did you mention?
EPS, that's the CPU power, top left-hand corner of the motherboard.
Daswin Music.
How many?
Daswin Music.
Oh, Daswin Music. Hey, quick question. I saw your video on installing RAM. Do you recommend power down enable and memory cons text restore is enabled even with no XMP or Expo? Yes, definitely. I would enable it regardless. To be honest with you, I wouldn't run memory not in Expo or XMP. For, well, 2 reasons. Because the sticks or the memory has been designed to be run at that speed. And normally when you turn on Expo or XMP, it actually increases the voltage that the memory gets. So they test it at the Expo speed. Very rarely will they test it at JDEC, which is like the base speed. In theory, if it works fine in XMP or Expo mode, it should work fine in JDEC. But that isn't always a guaranteed thing. So I would always try and run the RAM at its rated speeds on the box. So if you're buying like a 6000 kit, run it at 6000. Don't run it at like 4800 because, well, it's pointless. You've just spent money on a RAM kit, you might as well get the most out of it. But yeah, definitely memory context restore, and also enable power down. Those are very, very important, especially with earlier boards. It doesn't seem as bad these days, but generally I always turn it on. And since I've started doing that, I've had very, very few, if any, problems on AM5 or Intel for that matter, because you can enable both of those things in Intel motherboards as well.
The CPU was a Ryzen 7 9000.
Right, yeah, so if it's a 9000 series, it's going to need a BIOS update. It's not going to support that chip out of the box. Unless there's a sticker on the box saying Ryzen 9000 series ready. If there is a sticker on there saying Ryzen 9000 series ready, then ignore what I've just said. But it's almost guaranteed you're going to need a BIOS update. And we've done numerous videos on how to do that. So you just have to go to the motherboard manufacturer's site, download the BIOS, unzip it, rename the file, put it on a FAT32 drive, stick it in, press the button. It's pretty straightforward. But we've got detailed, if you follow the instructions for the B650 Tomahawk, it's basically the same process. Aletta says, gee, I need to move my recliner. The sun is in my eyes and I'm having trouble seeing my laptop. In the UK, we're having trouble seeing daylight. It's horrible.
But it's freezing there. Yes. But at least you've got sunshine. We've just not seen any sun. It's dark at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, it has been getting dark.
Murky.
David Underhill says not using XMP or Expo is like having a car and only using it in first gear. It's not too far off actually. Just having a look on there. Rasher says SADS is a problem in the UK and Ireland. Yeah, definitely. Joe Barnes, hello Mike and Kath and Feline family. Nice to see you back. Missed you guys. Thank you. Irie Wolfman says, what is daylight? Yeah. Daylight robbery. That's what we get bloody charged. Speaking of which, the council in our city of Bristol, which we're technically not in Bristol, we're in South Gloucestershire, which is like literally on the outskirts, so we're almost on the border. Bristol City Council are dicks. South Gloucester Council, less dickish. Still have dickness about them. But they're on about putting the council tax up either 15 or 25% this year. Nice. And then emptying our bins less.
Even though they only take a quarter of what they used to take.
So we're on a 2 weekly collection for black bins, which is like your general waste.
Which is half the size of what it used to be.
Which are now mini bins. And they're now talking about doing that every third or maybe every month. It's like, no. If that happens, I will be burning my rubbish in the streets in protest. Screw them. Alessa says, we've had nothing but sunlight. It hasn't rained here in months, and we're having one of the worst droughts in many years.
Well, we're having all your rain.
Yeah, I think we're having most of the rain.
Although it hasn't really rained much, has it? A bit drizzly.
Stephen OBG says, dead daylight has been stolen by the dreaded Night Devil. Yes, the Night Devil has stolen the daylight. It turns everything it touches darkness.
So when did we have that horrendous rain? We haven't really had much since that, have we?
No. Oh, I've got a cat hair going in my eyeball.
Smart.
Cat hairs going in your eyes is one of the most annoying things ever. It's like torture. It's like someone putting, you know when you're messing around with wires and you get a bit of wire go underneath your nail bed? That hurts. And it's almost like having a cat hair in your eyeball. Could be worse, could be a cat whisker. Anyway, moving on. So, from the darkness, let's move over to the light side. Out my wrist. And we'll take a look at something which possibly no one is ever going to buy. And I mean that in a not disingenuous way. As some of you are probably already aware, Intel have had a very, very poor showing when it comes to their recent product launches, the Intel Core Ultra 200 series. Now, if you're a content creator, most of the benchmarks are actually quite good. Unless you're using Photoshop, in which case it's not so good, because AMD is still really good for Photoshop. But for Premiere and other video editing things like DaVinci Resolve, etc., Intel is still doing really good. So, although the gaming market share for Intel is going to be probably hit a little bit, the production and creation type things, people are still going to be buying Intel, regardless. I was actually looking at some content recently, and it does appear that Intel have been looking with their engineers at what has been going on, and they're really confused because the results they were seeing are not the results that we've been seeing, like from the independent testers. So they've been looking around and they think that they may have some patches which will restore the performance which should be there. Because Intel are like really scratching their heads, like watching these reviews, like, what the... How the... So they don't get it. They really don't understand what's going on.
That
So
looks like it's come from Temu.
it does, doesn't it? Clearly, Intel are having some issues. This is their first generation of this new kind of chiplet tiled style design for the processors. Now, for those of you that can remember far enough back, when Ryzen first came out, the Ryzen 1000 series, that also was plagued by stability and performance issues. As it matured, the Ryzen 2000 series, significantly better. Obviously the 3000 series is what really put Ryzen on the map, and obviously from then it's been going from strength to strength. Intel have basically reset the board, no pun intended, and they're going back to a different architecture. So obviously there's going to be optimizations that needed to be done in both software, hardware, BIOS level, basically all that stuff. So this is going to be somewhat of a, well, much like, I know that I said that these boards were kind of from opposing ends of the spectrum, but actually in some fundamental ways, these two actually share some similarities in the fact that they're both quite risky. Now, the MSI board is obviously not going to be risky in terms of things like BIOS updates, software, future support, RMAs, ease of use, that kind of stuff, because it's a massive company and they know what they're doing. Well, RMAs probably we could debate about, but in terms of support and obviously all that kind of stuff, they're miles and miles ahead of Jginyue. Dave, stop doing that. Sorry, Dave is being really distracting right there. I'm not even sure if I can get him on camera, but he's just like, actually I probably can. Let me show you what Dave's doing. Got an overhead camera. There's Dave. What are you doing, Dave? See, this is what I got to put up with. Whilst I'm trying to work, Dave's there just flapping his ears around.
And airing his monkey.
He's airing his monkey out.
He just lies like that all the time. You drew his feet up more.
Come on, Dave. Yeah, he's docile, he is.
Like
Oh, yeah.
razor wire. He's got sharp claws.
O'Reilly says, damn it, Dave, why did you not behave like that when I visited? Lol, that cat is chilling. Bless him. Dave?
You should have seen him on 420 day in the catnip, led like that.
He was like this on 420 day in the catnip, yeah. Out for the county, wasn't you, Dave? Oh, bless him. He's a beautiful cat. Aren't you? Oh, Dave edition. Right, let's go back to the... sorry, you have to put up with me. Bless Dave. He's a hairy little monkey, aren't you? You asleep? He is. I think he is asleep. Anyway, so this is obviously a less risky proposition in terms of support and longevity and all that kind of stuff. Where Intel boards have their risky bit at the moment is you're very much betting on an unknown. This is a new architecture, which, especially if you're just primarily into gaming, it's kind of a losing battle. It's using a little bit more energy. It's a little bit more expensive. And at the moment, as it stands, the motherboards are more expensive as well. So, Dave, oh, you're making me so nervous. He's just messing around now with the motherboard stand and stretching out, trying to move the camera. Bad kitty. Anyway, so what was I saying? Yeah, this is a risky proposition because potentially Intel can fix the things which have been going wrong with the early releases. So this actually could come into a really powerful platform. But for some people, the damage has already been done. Obviously, 13th, 14th gen, a lot of issues, a lot of people upset, a lot of people being absolutely fine. Dave? Oh, no. Whatever it is, no. So yeah, this is a risky proposition in terms of, are you going to invest in a Z890 chipset, spend a lot of money, get a lot of cool features? Is it going to have any longevity? Are they going to hold on to the LGA 1851 socket long enough for it to kind of recover its investment? Are Intel going to pull some magical rabbit out of the hat and make their new core processors very competitive, or even market beaters? Whether or not they're going to beat the 7800X3D and 9800X3D, who knows? They seem to think they might be able to, but obviously you cannot really make a decision based on ifs and buts. It's a hard thing to do. So if you are considering going down this road, then yeah, it is somewhat risky. Just reading what your chat is there. And funny enough, actually, I just noticed someone mentioned about AIPC, so it says AIPC. If you have a look now on pretty much all graphics card vendors, they all say how many, is it NOPS or ROPS? What is the thing which they say of how many AI compute things they can do? I can't think what it is now. Is it CUs or something? I don't know. There's a thing. I noticed it on ASUS's website today. I was looking at my graphics card and it says this will do such and such amount of AI workload. And it was ridiculously numbers way higher than any of the processors on the market at the moment. So effectively, when people say about AI PCs, like, oh, I'm not buying an AI PC. If you've got an NVIDIA card or a modern AMD card, you've already got an AI PC. Whether you like it or not, the MPC or the neural processing unit is in there already. You have it in your computer. So it only takes Intel to go, not Intel, sorry, it only takes Microsoft to go, actually, maybe we should just open up so for all neural processors. And then suddenly your non-AI PC is now an AI PC. Now that might be something which is beneficial to you. Maybe it's not. There's a whole recall thing, argument going on whether or not it's a good thing, a bad thing, whatever. It has its uses, obviously, for some things, but anyway. I will digress. So let's take a look at this motherboard. So this motherboard is actually really badly packaged, because trying to read the box, I'm not sure if you can actually even see much of it anyway. You can probably see it better than I can, to be fair. Yeah, I was going to say it might look better. So it does look better on camera. In person, it looks awful. So this has got 5 gigabit LAN built in. It's got Wi-Fi 7. It's also got 5 M.2 slots. It's got some of the easiest M.2 cooling mechanism I've ever seen. And it's ridiculously heavy. In fact, let's get the board out now and let's take a closer look. Now, I'm supposed to have, as of 2 o'clock this afternoon, a Intel processor to be using on this motherboard, which, nope, it isn't here. And UPS, I did check before we started the stream. UPS, the van is actually parked up. Might even still be on my screen. Yes, it is. Your follow my delivery live map is no longer available. Great. So yeah, my delivery was, I've been getting text messages all day, all yesterday actually, saying yeah, arriving today 11:40 to 13:40. Delivery tomorrow 9:45 to 13:45. Then, oh, your delivery is coming today 9:45 to 1:45. UPS arriving soon. Expect your delivery 12 till 1400. And it's basically still not here. So, I don't know what's going on. I was really hoping to have the processor so I could fire this up and show you what the BIOS is like on this new motherboard. Because the BIOS on this is nuts. It's a completely different ballgame. They've changed the BIOS layout and everything. It's just, yeah, it's very different. Anyway, let's take a look at the board. And we'll see what it's all about. There are a few accessories in here, but I'll go through the accessories just out of completeness. So this box here is your Wi-Fi antenna. And this is Wi-Fi 7, so it's using the new Wi-Fi plugins. So little push fits rather than being screw-ons. So those are pretty cool. And you have a magnetic and also wall mountable antenna. So that goes in there. So you got your traditional kind of antenna, which on fine sight magnetic. There we go. So you see, it is magnetic. If you want it to be magnetic, so it'll stick to your computer. Or there's those little hooks there. So if you wanted to put a couple of hooks on your wall, you can do. Nice long cable, so you can separate it out. Wi-Fi 7, it has got Wi-Fi 7, like I said. If you don't have Wi-Fi 7 on your router, it is backwards compatible with all the previous Wi-Fi protocols, all the way back down to B, I think. So even if you've got like really, really old stuff, it will still work. So you're not going to be left high and dry just because you've got a modern setup. Look at this, I am the reboxing king, almost. A couple of SATA cables, if you want to use SATA. There's a weird breakout box, or breakout cable. So this, I'll probably have to show you this up close because it's a slightly unusual thing. So MSI are starting to go down the NZXT and Lian Li route. So they're bringing out some new fans which are interlocking and are daisy chainable and have got LCD screens and all that kind of jazz on it. So they've got this new connector, which is, I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head. So that is the connector which goes into the motherboard. And that splits then into a PWM, a ARGB, and also a 4-pin USB. So hopefully you can just about make those out. So the board actually has all of these individual connectors on as well, but these are all additional. So if you for some reason run out of PWM headers or whatever, it isn't a major issue. Although what is a major issue is trying to work out which one of these caps fits on which one of the end pieces now. Oh dear, why do they got to make life... I'm going to take my coat off actually, I'm getting a bit warm now. In sweaty tits, if I'm allowed to say that. I guess I am though. Can I get a refill on my drink, please?
Yeah, I've got some on my lap. Right, Oats, I'm gonna leave.
Can I have a cordial?
Cordial?
Cordial.
Where do we get cordial from?
Between the fridge. Thank you.
How do you make it?
Don't know. Cue the burlesque music. Wah 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 wah.
Hot or cold?
Cold would be fine. Right, let me try and work out which goes on where. So that I think is that one. See, they've already lost me on this because the fact that the caps are all so very different already makes me want to basically set fire to myself. Yeah, this is daft. Yes, please.
How much do I put in? I don't know how to make it.
God's sake, woman.
See when?
Go on. Yeah, that'll do.
And then just top with water, yeah?
Yeah, please. CAF doesn't make Ribena, usually, or anything like that. I can't understand why they've made this so complicated. There's no point in actually making it this complicated. You're more likely to actually damage something. Is that going there? Yeah, there we go. Right, bloody. So, just to reiterate, this is a, I think they call this a JC USB or something. So effectively it's USB and PWM and ARGB. All of those ports are on the motherboard as well, so you don't have to use this. But for some of MSI's new and upcoming exciting products, that will be actually on there. Also, they include something which I don't think is actually really necessary, but actually quite cool as well. So this is a front panel extension. So your front panel connection for your reset button, your power switch. Dave! Dave! He's chewing the camera cables now.
What are you doing? Be naughty.
Very thirsty. So yeah.
Do you want coffee as well?
Oh yeah, go on then. I/O extension cable if you want to use it. You get all bunch of M.2 bits and pieces, as you'd expect. Something which actually is very nice, and more manufacturers should do this, is there is a MSI USB drive, branded USB drive, little metal one, which has all your drivers on. So as you would probably expect, this motherboard has got the very, very latest kind of technology and chipsets and stuff on it. It's new. Windows looks at it and goes, what do you want me to do with that? I have no idea what you are. And MSI, obviously, they're kind of fully aware that is going to be a problem. So they give you a driver disk included in the box. So you plug it in and basically you can install all your drivers and stuff without having to connect to the internet first, which you probably won't because you've got a 5 gigabit Ethernet, which is so new. And also you've got your LAN, Wi-Fi LAN 7. So yeah, you aren't going to have drivers built in to Windows for that. Also, there is a little Allen key type thing for taking out the M.2 slots or the M.2 holders, which I think is pretty cool. So that is what is included in the box. Let's take a look at the motherboard, and it is yeah, it's a very unusual motherboard. Now I should say as well, it is ridiculously expensive as well. Have some, like, don't cheat, because I know what people are like and you have access to the internet, but without actually looking, how much do you think this motherboard is? I want your honest first impressions. The Ali 100 says still MSI crap. I'll be honest with you, if I had to buy a motherboard myself these days, I would always look for an MSI board before I look for anything else. I've tried so many different brands and boards, and MSI have always been the ones which I've had very few problems with. I love their BIOS layout, their software. Some people hate it, some people like it. I find it to be the best on the market, and I use fan control almost all the time, RGB less of the time, but their automatic update software, I think it's just far superior from any of the other brands. And yeah, I think MSI really haven't put a foot wrong, other than their obvious issues with RMA stuff and the stuff going on there. But in terms of actual physical hardware, they don't really put a foot wrong. And I would rather go with a company which rarely puts a foot wrong rather than a company which seems to do it on a consistent basis. Anyway, let's take a look at the overhead camera, and I will give you a close-up. At least try to. Let's go to position number 1. And let's zoom in.
Where's Alex?
Don't know. Right, there is some decent framing. So people are saying 260, Dave Aiken says. Raj says 350, Rasher says 280, Zero Defect says 500. David Underhill says 615 Aussie dollars. Andy Archer says $65. Roderick says 369. Nice. Dave Aiken says, I've just checked, I was very wrong. Mick Wood says 400. Mark Berry says 300. So yeah, you got some options there. Hey Mitch, hi Mike, sorry I'm late. No worries. So Dutch Jan says, I don't like the look of that board. It is very much one of those kind of very silvery white boards, which do seem to be very popular with some people. It is one of those things, love it or hate it. So one of the first things I noticed about this is the EPS connectors. So your power connectors for your motherboard have now been moved. So your power input now is over this side, which I found to be rather unusual. Whether or not this is going to be an ongoing thing for other manufacturers as well, I'm not entirely sure. For MSI, it certainly seems that it is, which would possibly explain why we've not seen any new Project Zero boards, especially now they've moved this, because traditionally these would be over here. So in this section now, all we've got is a fan header. Which if I put there. So you've got a fan header where the EPS normally would have been. Then you've got your two 8-pin connectors there. Then even further away, we've got the CPU connector, so CPU fan. This white one here on the side is an AIO header. Then you've got your first of your system fan headers. You've got your 4 RAM slots, so supporting up to somewhere crazy like 10,000 mega transfers, which is ridiculous. You've got a digital readout for your BIOS output, and whilst you're actually like in Windows or it's not in the BIOS, this will give you a readout of the CPU package temperature or socket temp. So that's quite a handy little bit of diagnostic stuff going on there. A bit pointless really, but it's something. 24-pin main power connector. Then you've got your weird MSI USB type connector for those breakout boards. USB 3.0. This bit is actually very cool. I like this a lot. So you press this button in, and it's a toggle. So your GPU bracket opens and closes. So rather than actually having to hold a bracket or push a lever and hold it, it just toggles. It stays closed or it stays open, making it very easy to put in or remove a graphics card. And of course, you've got PCI Express PCI Express Gen 5 times 16 there. So that is very nice. PCI Express Gen 4 times 1 here, and PCI Express Gen 4 times 4 at the bottom, even though it's a 16X slot. Extra PCI power if you need it. And obviously you've got your connections. You can turn your RGB on or off here, which some people might appreciate. But where it gets very cool is these push and lift Lightning Gen 5 M.2 slots. So normally for M.2 you'd have to find yourself a little screwdriver, but this you just push that and lift, and that is it. It pulls off. So there's a little mechanism there, little ball joints there, and very, very, very easy to install your drives, which is nice. We like that a lot. And actually, when it comes to installing the drives in there, again, that is pretty cool, but I'll show you on the next one. The only thing is, I do find this a little bit difficult to put back in. Oh, there we go. He says. This one is great because it's just a big slab, so that just comes off in one go. And then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 additional M.2 holders, or drive bays, or slots, whatever you want to call it. Technically they're a slot because you slot them into a connector, but drive bay, call it whatever you like. But let's show you how easy this is to install a drive. So if you want to use these top ones, it's got the usual little plastic wraparound. So you just use that. You've got the plastic bit there, so unlatch it, drive comes out, take it out. But these ones here at the bottom, these have got the new spring-loaded one, so that is it. It's like a little toggle, and you just pull the drive away, and it comes out. Those I prefer. I think those are great. You can actually swap out these ones for that type. There are extra ones of those in the box, but they give you the option of having both straight away. So yeah, you can choose to use whichever you like, but I really do like that setup. That takes a lot of the guesswork and the faffing out of it. That is why doesn't all manufacturers do that? Dutch Jan says, how many M.2 to the CPU? Right, okay, so the top slot and the first of the PCI Express Gen 4 times 4, those two are directly connected to the CPU. This one, and this one, they're all PCI Express Gen 4 times 4, and those are all running from the Z890 chipset, which is underneath there. So that is actually a chipset cooler there as well. So yeah, that is
That's Jan's question.
Yes. Cool. Alessa says, wow, M.2 has never been easier to steal. Yeah, that's true. Zero Defect says, could do with a couple more M.2s. Definitely. Biggest advantage for M.2 is not dealing with ultra small screws. I agree. I agree. I really do love this mechanism. That that just makes me very happy. Those little screws always go missing. So yeah, I think MSI have done a very good job there with those. Really, they should have just put those clasps in for all of them, but I suppose even those plastic ones there are still very, very easy to do. So yeah, pretty awesome overall. So that is the motherboard. Let's take a look at the I/O. This always kind of gets me how how simple that is. So the I/O is pretty awesome. So you've got BIOS flashback and also BIOS reset buttons there. Single HDMI port. You've got a pair of Thunderbolt 4 ports, so 40 gigabit per second. You've then got a USB Type-C. 4 USB 3.2 Gen 2? No, Gen 1. 5 gigabit per second, I think those are. I can't see. Yeah, 5 gigabit per second. So that's USB 3.2 Gen 1. Then you've got Gen 2 ports there, so 10 gigabit per second, 5 gig LAN, your Wi-Fi antennas, and basically the same audio output as we had on the other board. So this audio in here is the Realtek S1220, which is actually yeah, pretty decent audio chipset. And on the back, not really a great deal to speak of, but it is at least in the same color. So for some people, they do appreciate the aesthetics. So overall, a extremely heavy board. The VRM setup on here is something bizarre, like I think it's 16 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. Yes, 16 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. So 19 phase VRM with 90 amp chokes. So yeah, it's basically a very, very nuts board, which makes it even sadder that Intel have had the teething issues that they have to begin with, because I was really, really looking forward to upgrading my video editing rig and putting this in there and being a very happy person for a very long time, because the amount of M.2 storage for my video files, the USB fast transfers for moving files around and connecting up the capture cards and stuff like that, just like, oh, this board has it all. It really does. But the processors have come out to a somewhat lackluster first kind of debut, if you will. Now hopefully they are going to fix it with upcoming BIOS releases, and I'm really fingers crossed, because the thing is, we don't want AMD to be in a position where they become what Intel were, where they basically had the crown for so long and they kind of gave up, because we are now experiencing what happens when a company gives up internally. They've got no reason to innovate and push things forward. We went through numerous reiterations of basically the same processor over and over and over and over again, with these tiny little 5% or 10% gains, which bizarrely we've got to the point now where the new Ryzen 9000 series is about 5 to 10% faster, and everyone's like loving it, thinking it's the best thing ever, when clearly it's not. We should be getting much, much bigger jumps in performance per generation, but we're not. And obviously in the case of Intel's Intel Core Ultra 200 series, there has been some regressions in some areas, which is a real unfortunate thing. But I'm hoping they can fix the problem, they know what's going on, and they can get to grips with it. So yeah, we'll see what it is. Anyway, let's have a look and see. Not this particular version. If you want the black version of this, I think it is going to be, actually I'll have to have a look. I think it's the Edge, not the Edge TI. Let's have a look. Products, motherboards, Intel 800 series. Sorry, no, the Carbon. The Carbon is probably the closest. Yeah, this is basically, just looking at the Carbon. The Carbon white, yeah, the MPG Z890 Carbon Wi-Fi is effectively the black version of this. The only difference being is you also have some RGB on the M.2, which I don't think... No, I don't think you got RGB on this.
Sorry.
Sorry, Kath's dying over there.
I'm not dying.
But yeah, so the black version would be the carbon Wi-Fi. The Tomahawk is a little bit lower down the list. It's going to be interesting to see what Intel come out with, actually, in terms of the kind of the B860 chipset, I guess it would be, or even the H series. I think even the H series, when it comes out, the H810, is potentially going to be really good. God, cats are going wild. Rick H says, I remember the days of the single core Celerons, so this crop of processors are light years ahead. But I think we were more excited back then of what you would get for your money in terms of performance. Like, a lot of people would have been on Celerons, and then if you had the option, if you got yourself a Pentium, it was like a noticeable improvement in performance overall. It was like a really nice big jump. But the price wasn't horrendous. But anyway. Aletta says people are getting brainwashed to love 5% more performance. They really are. Yeah, it's not also. Wayne Taylor says, Mike, have you bought new RAM for it? I haven't, no. I'm just going to use standard DDR5. You can get CU DIMMs. It does support CU DIMMs. I'm of the opinion at the moment that CU DIMMs, because of how new they really are, they are ridiculously expensive. Now, it could go in two ways. If CU DIMMs don't take off, in terms of people buying them and using them, because of how expensive they are, they will obviously get cheaper. Or they'll just drop it altogether. So you might find the standard DDR5 RAM getting cheaper, CU DIMMs maybe staying the same. I don't know. I can't see them getting much cheaper very quickly. I'm hoping that due to the way that Intel have launched the processors, that they will reduce significantly in price. Because I would really like to get hold of a Intel i7 265. That for me, is it the 265? Yeah, 285 is the top of the range, 265 is the mid, and 245 is the kind of like the entry or more entry level version. So I would really like to get the i7, because the i7 in a lot of things performs kind of within a margin of error with the i9 in a lot of tasks, but is like 150 quid cheaper, which for me makes a lot of sense, because it's you've still got tons and tons of cores, you still got some like excellent single core performance, just they really need to work on how Windows interacts with the cores and the schedulers and all that kind of stuff to get the very best out of it. But it's one of those things, it's a work in progress, as all these things always are. So yeah, we'll see. Oh yeah, Charles Ballard says, Mike, you asked us what we thought the price of the board was, but did you ever tell us what it is? I didn't, and I am going to have a look now and see what the latest price is. I don't think it's going to have changed much, to be honest with you, from what it was quite recently. It is in the region of about 300 plus, closer to 400. So at the moment, the cheapest place you can buy it here in the UK is, I think it's CCL Computers or eBuyer, both doing it at the same price. Oh, actually, there is an Edge TI in black. Oh, they're showing it in white there. That's the carbon. Idiots. Yeah, £385, which is an absolutely astronomical price for motherboards. It's one of those things that the reality is, unless you actually need some of the features on here, such as Thunderbolt 4, such as Wi-Fi 7, such as 5 M.2 slots, there really isn't a lot of point of getting a high-end platform at the moment. There really isn't. And especially if you're just gaming. I know I say just gaming, but in reality, the most demanding tasks that you can do on a PC are things like video editing, rendering, Blender, some compute tasks, that sort of stuff. Gaming, basically, you can run on, well, as we know, you can run it on a handheld. You don't need a massive amount of power to get the job done. If you want to enjoy it more, obviously you can spend more money. But realistically, for the price of this motherboard alone, you can almost pick up a decent AM4 gaming system. The whole thing. Case, motherboard, processor, RAM, graphics card, the whole shooting match. Like, I've seen Ryzen systems for 400 quid. Yeah, maybe a Ryzen 2700 and an older, like 1650 Super or something, but it's a whole computer for the same price of a motherboard, which kind of blows my mind a little bit. Anyway. But what it comes down to is, again, it's like, I keep on using this analogy, and it is very, very true. It's like the car market. If you're into cars and you want performance parts, then you will pay £10,000 for an engine. You will pay, I don't know, a few £1,000s for a stage 2 remap. You will pay how much money for a stainless steel exhaust. It is the same thing with computers. Obviously, you can just get by with going to your local PC World or whatever store it is near you that sells computers. You can just buy something off the shelf for a couple of £100 and you'll be able to use a computer. But if you want to have a custom computer and you want it to do the things you want it to do, you want it to look the way you want it to look, you want it to have the lights where you want the lights and all that kind of stuff, you do have to pay a premium for it, unfortunately. I did, yes, I just did that, yeah. So, yeah, that is a very weird place that we are at the market. Like, I'm pretty sure the price of this, around about £400, is basically where the kind of godlike board prices were, and the Unifies and things like that, a generation ago, the AM4. I'm sure the AM4 Unifies and godlikes were like 400 quid. And those were the very, very top tier boards. This is a high-end board, don't get me wrong, but the new godlike boards are like £1,000, which is bananas. Yes, there's a lot of technology going in there, but we're only getting like 5 to 10% performance increases over the last generation. It's, I don't know, it's bizarre. I think this is why I get a little bit despondent about the whole PC market, because the kind of the cutting edge or the bleeding edge used to be like, yes, it's going to cost you a fortune, you are going to have to cough up a lung, but your games are going to be so much better. Like, everything's going to be different. You're going to go from 640 to 480 up to like 1600 by 1200. It's going to be a massive improvement in performance. Whereas now it's kind of like an extra 5-10 FPS, which is stupid. Really is. Dom.
Not really a question, just a statement.
Dom says, I've listed today a PC for sale with a Ryzen 5 3600, a RX 57 XT, 460 quid. So yes, you are right on point. Thanks, Dom. Yeah, that's actually a nice spec. For 460 quid, that's awesome. David Underhill says, basic AM4 motherboard, $105, and AMD 5600X, $188 here in Oz. Yeah, that's the thing, it's nuts. Alexa says, Mike is right. I remember buying a car for £3,000 and then putting 12k worth of aftermarket parts on it. That's kind of where we're at. That is where we're at. If you're an enthusiast, you look at these prices and you're like, well, I want it, I'm going to pay it. Now, don't get me wrong, there are Z890 motherboards for Intel for kind of 200 quid, which is about what I would say is, it's still not great, but for the amount of technology in it, you're not far off. In actual fact, what is the cheapest Z890? I think it's going to be a mini ITX one. A micro ATX. Yeah, about 220 quid. And that's still got Wi-Fi 7, DDR5, that's micro ATX. Actually doesn't look that dissimilar. So yeah, potentially, like, you're spending a lot of money on this. It is a premium product. It's got some nice features, but I don't know whether they're that nice to make you want to spend that amount of money. I personally don't think it's worth it, but in terms of, it's not a valuable product. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say it. It is a valuable product. It has inherent value in it, but it isn't a good value product, I would say, because you can essentially get away with almost the same thing, considerably cheaper. But it is something we are seeing more and more of. Like I said, prices are getting quite out of hand for computing stuff. There are rumours that the RX 590 is going to be £2,000. And the even more bizarre thing is that people will pay it. It will sell. Like when the 4090 came out, it was like, what was it, 1,600 quid. People are like, oh my god, the market's gone mad, no one's ever going to buy that. And they've kind of been out of stock almost constantly. So obviously there are people buying them. Dave Aitken mostly. I hate you for saying that. But people do buy them. If you're in a business, then it is a business expense and you can kind of write it off as such. Whereas if you're a normal human being and you're just using your PC because you want to play some games, then unfortunately it's going to cost you an arm and a leg. Now, some of you may have noticed I've actually done something which I said I'd never ever do again. And I actually bought some Corsair Vengeance DDR RAM. DDR5 RAM. So this is their AMD version. So it says there for AMD. Make sure if you're buying Corsair RAM that you buy the one that says for Intel or for AMD, because most of them won't work both ways. The AMD stuff will work on Intel, but the Intel stuff won't work very well on AMD. Or at least, unless you're very, very lucky. Or you've got a particularly good motherboard, which has excellent traces. Anyway, so I bought that. This actually was on offer, $79.99 from Amazon Germany, which unfortunately the deal ran out very, very quickly. I posted it and within, well, a very short time it was over. So
fans off.
Unfortunately.
It's 3:30 in India.
Ah, cheers. 3:30 AM. Wow. Thanks for joining us this long. It's like watching the election stream, which I stupidly did. And it killed me for about 2 days after. I know I wasn't very well. Oh yeah. When was it? Yeah, Wednesday morning, wasn't it? Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, I think. I'm losing track. Aletta says, Corsair, boo. Yeah, I was... At the time it was great value, but I've actually seen some other deals and looking at what's going to be happening Black Friday, there might be other options available, so... But I did actually run that with my little ITX motherboard. Put it on Expo and it booted up first time and has been absolutely rock solid stable. So I was very grateful of that. Brasher says, wow, I didn't know RAM was biased. It is, unfortunately. Mark Barry says AM4 for the foreseeable for me. Irie Wolfman says the 5600X3D is better than the 5700X3D. Yeah, better is sort of, how can I say it? It's depending on your perspective. Like if you're looking specifically at some games, then yes, it would be. For gaming, it probably is, yeah. But for other tasks, probably not so much because of the extra cores, which might be useful. David Underhill, my dad's daily driver, £2,000. His weekend cruiser had 20k. Mum's car was a Rolls Royce Silver Wraith. Nice. David Aiken says the 5700X3D for 115 quid on AliExpress or a 7500F for a bit less is about as good as it gets for value right now. Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. And if it wasn't for the fact that I wanted to put this into a very, very small form factor build, I don't think I would have got the 8600G. purely because of the PCI Express limitations, because it's only got ×8 available on the graphics card port, which is a little bit of a shame, because the lanes that otherwise would have been used are used for the onboard GPU, which is great if you're using it in a small little system, but if you're looking to expand, it's probably not ideal. Still, you can get away with it, but it's just, if you plan on putting a graphics card in anyway, you might as well just go with the 7500F or 7600, and probably save yourself some money as well. 5700X3D, I still have not done a build with my 5700X3D. Ridiculous. I should have, I've got so much stuff there that I need to catch up on in builds. I've got boxes, and like it's got to the point where I've got absolutely, it's ridiculous again, that I thought I got rid of a lot of this stuff. I even expanded my table wider so I could put more underneath it, and I'm running out of room. So I've actually got a couple of cases, and there's going to be some other bits actually. I will be listing them in the X Review Bargains in our Discord. So if you're after any parts, I will be selling them off very, very cheaply. Some of the cases will be kind of a few quid plus postage, just so I can clear some room, because they do take up a ridiculous amount of room. I've got 2 GameMax cases, definitely those will be going. I've got possibly 1 or 2 Thermaltake cases as well. I've also still got the Tower 200, which I'm not sure if I want to do a build in, or whether just someone in the chat or Discord might want that. But yeah, if you're interested in a Tower 200 in black, I've still got that in the loft for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway, that's that. Ivory Wolfman said, did it make you lose your hair, Mike? It might have done. You never know. Nimrod Quimber says, I use my PC to look at naked AI generated ladies. Thanks for that. So I'll look through the chat. Aletta says, RAM brands don't really matter to me. There's only 3 companies that make RAM chips. Good point. Irie Orphan says, did Hynix ever release their own brand name? Yes, they did, but they did, but it wasn't SK Hynix. It was, who? Oh God, who was it? I've done the review for it. Not Lexar. Oh God, I can't think who it is now. That's going to annoy me. No, I can't think. But yeah, SK Hynix did their own brand of RAM, but it wasn't very good. Well, it was good, but they didn't use the best chips. Dutch Jan says, I'm no longer allowed to build PCs. Oh, sorry about that. David Aitkins says, I've been testing the 5700X3D and the RX 6800 combo. An absolute beast of a pairing. Makes me wonder why you'd bother with any more for 1080 for 1440p gaming unless you had ultra high refresh rate monitor. Patrick LaBelle, how you doing? Just got here, say hello. How you doing? Zero Defects says Solidigium. No, that was Intel. Intel sold their SSD manufacturing to Solidigium. Oh God, who was it? Not Lexar. What was the brand of RAM that had the? I have to look up on my my Amazon shopping. Actually, I can't do it on there. I have to do it on my phone. Let's have a look. Amazon. Yeah, because it said on the box, this is a company of SK Hynix, I think. Or actually, am I thinking Crucial? Let's have a look. Your orders. Let's have a look for DDR5. That might refresh my memory. DDR5. Done. Come on, search your swine. Crucial Pro. Was Crucial Pro what I was thinking of? Was it Crucial RAM? Or yeah, I'm sure Crucial RAM. I'm sure Crucial is a brand of SK Hynix. Crucial. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, Crucial is SK Hynix. Skystalker says. Thank you. I thought that was.
CJ.
Where's the bias? Yeah, I think that is. Who was sorry, CJ? Can anyone recommend me a decent mechanical full-size keyboard under 80 quid? God, that is, you're asking a lot there. So decent mechanical full-sized under 80. Does it have to have any specific switches or layouts? Are you UK layout or are you USA? I would probably be looking, well, a decent mechanical full-size keyboard under 80. You might be looking at the Ducky 6108. That's really nice, if that's your thing. Otherwise, yeah, there's loads really full-sized. You've got the Keychron, the Keychron K4, I think it is. Yeah, I think it's the Keychron K4 Pro. Yeah, do you want wireless or wired as well? Oh, Crucial is Micron. Sorry, well done. Thank you. Clev.
Don't bother me.
Clev is the one, isn't it, I think? Clev is part of SK Group, yes. So yeah, Clev is that. No worries. Skystalker says I was wrong, Mike. Don't worry, I've been wrong before. It happens to the best of us. Sorry, Kath, what was that?
UK layout preferred. Switches don't bother me. Maybe blue.
You could have a look at the MSI GK71 Sonic. That's been reduced quite heavily recently. That's nice, that's what I use back here. Although it's got Sonic switches which are a bit lightweight, so you might not like that. Thanks for Dom becoming a supporter. Much appreciated. Thank you for joining and being a supporter and getting access to videos earlier than the riffraff. Oh, I know. Also, we've got a giveaway. Well, actually got two giveaways which will be going to be going on. Both of them went from Colin Harris. Colin Harris is someone I worked with years ago. From Colin Hilton. Colin Hilton, bless his heart, has donated a MSI Pro MP161E2, which is this portable monitor here. This is 1080p IPS screen, and it's USB Type-C or HDMI, and it's actually really good. But we're giving it away to one of you lucky people. Now, something that I like about this particularly is with portable monitors, you never quite know exactly where you're going to be using it. I will.
Dom's already been a member for 8 months, but it's under a different username, a different email.
Right. Thanks, Tom. I thought you had. I thought you were. So this comes in a nice little neoprene travel case, which is nice, like foamy. But what is very cool about this, most portable monitors have got really crap kickstands, whereas this one is very cool. So you can use it in your normal kind of portrait mode, or you can have it a little bit more upright, or you can have it in your portrait mode. Have it on your desk. So the stand works in many, many ways, which is brilliant. I'm not sure if I showed you this on the last stream, or did I? Did I show you this in the last stream? I don't think I did. I'm struggling to work out what I've actually said and what I haven't. So yeah, this stand, rotatable, so depending on which way you want your bezels and stuff like that. And you just flip that around to whatever suits you. So I think that's very, very cool. I like that a lot. That's actually really good. And it's got quite a bit of adjustment on there. So depending where you want it. It isn't a touch screen, which is good because otherwise you touch it and you might topple it over. So it isn't a touch screen, but yeah. So pretty cool setup. But also on the back, there's actually a 1/4 inch thread as well. So if you want to, you can actually put it onto a tripod mount. So if you're someone who's doing like video work like we do, then you can actually put it on a tripod and connect up your camera, and you can use that as a kind of a viewing monitor, so you can see what you're actually filming.
What is the screen resolution and the refresh rate?
60 Hz refresh rate, and it's 1080p. And it's also in the new MSI modern display. You got on the side, you got your HDMI. Where is it? Yeah, you got HDMI, 2 USB Type C's, charging, and also PD delivery, power delivery. You've got a up and down rocker for volume and menus and stuff. It's good. No VESA mounts. Doesn't have VESA mounts, but it has got the tripod mount.
How is it powered?
USB-C. You can power it by USB-C, and you can also pass through power as well. So it has power in and out, and both of the ports are kind of full service ports. So you can use them for either providing power or providing a display, or both.
Battery?
No battery. Portable monitors are kind of like a weird name. They're portable as in the fact that you can move them around relatively easily, but they also give you the kind of the inference that it's going to be self-powered or something, but most of them aren't, and the ones that have batteries in are pretty poor. So anyway, it's a very, very nice monitor. Really nice colour reproduction and all that kind of stuff, and the speakers are actually surprisingly quite good as well, the built-in speakers. So if you want to plug this into maybe, I don't know, your console, your Switch, your laptop to extend the displays or whatever, pretty decent. Actually reduced at the moment as well on Amazon. Around about £82 I think it is, which for a portable monitor, especially a branded one, like there's so many of those brands that I cannot basically even say on AliExpress and stuff for like, I don't know, 40, 50, 60 quid. But you're always kind of a little bit, is it going to be okay or not? Whereas with obviously MSI, it's a known quantity. You're paying a little bit more for the brand, but if quality is important to you and longevity and support and all that, then worth taking a look at. Or alternatively, when the video comes out, all you need to do if you want to win this is actually just comment. Patrons have got access already. All you need to do, if you want to win it, leave a comment on the video with the word win and just say you'd like to win it. You can give a reason if you want to, or you can just put win, this is a support comment or whatever, and you'll be entered into the draw. It is a worldwide giveaway as well, so you can enter from any country you like, and we'll be doing the draw about 2 weeks after the video goes to the public. So it'll probably be, what's it now? So it's been out to 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It'll probably be another 3 or 4 weeks from now. So about a month's time. What we know. Yeah, so it'll probably be towards the beginning of December. So it could be a nice Christmas present for somebody. So if you want to win it, keep an eye out for the video. Leave a like, leave a share, copy, all that bloody stuff. You know how YouTube nonsense works.
Alex Burton says, are you from the southwest UK by any chance?
Alex Burton, yarp. That's all I'll say. Yes, we are very much in the southwest of the United Kingdom.
Attach it to your GoPro and wear it outside.
That's not a bad idea.
Powered by a power bank.
Yeah. I'll do a Linus and just strap loads of stuff onto me with gaffer tape. Phil Stodd, how you doing?
Phil Stodd's been in for ages.
Yeah, I know. I haven't said hello to everyone in the chat, but whatever. You know I care.
Alex Burton, you're literally down the road from me. If York is a hint, ha ha, how cool.
Alex Burton, whereabouts are you? If you don't mind. We're in Bristol. I don't mind saying that. It's, Bristol's a pretty big place. There's about 1 million of us. So.
Hello, Otis.
William Bodie says the MSI Pro MP161E2U, €99. on the Amazon German right now. Not bad, not bad. I think that makes about, yeah, that sounds about right. Ah, Alex Bird says, I'm in Midsummer Norton now, but I grew up in Keynsham. Good old Keynsham. David Underhill says Big Bristols. I don't think you're allowed to say that anymore, but you certainly can do. I've seen a lot of Big Bristols. Normally outside of Greg's. that can be taken in so many ways, can't it? What else? Oh yeah, another thing we've got, which we're going to be doing a giveaway on, again from Colin Hilton, the lovely, lovely man. And Colin, hopefully you're feeling better as well. We are, well, I've already done the review. We've got the Lian Li 207 in white. And let's have a look and you can see what that's all about. You've probably seen the videos from it already, but I'll show you the screen. So this is the Lian Li 207. Very cool case. It's got basically extra fans in it. So you've got 2 fans up front, as you can see. We've got the white version. You've got 2 fans here, 140mm, very powerful fans. And also at the bottom here, there's 2 fans blowing up towards the GPU, which hopefully they're going to show. But it's got a new layout, so your power supply goes up front here, rather than being at the back where it traditionally would be. Yeah, you can just about see, so there's fans in there, they blow straight up towards the GPU. It is a cracking design, it's very nice. And yeah, you can see there, power supply wires in through the back. It's pretty cool, and they've actually made some refinements to it already, compared with, there we go. So there's the fans at the bottom there, blowing into the GPU. And it's all been done very, very well. It's awesome. But yeah, I like it. It's a very, very nice case. And really, there's very little to complain about. The only thing is, I would say, is because of the power supply placement, you have to make sure that the EPS cable on your power supply is at least 600 mils for it to route up nicely. Otherwise, you have to kind of like stretch it across, which it's not really designed to do. And something else which they've already kind of rectified post reviews is, for some motherboards, it's actually quite difficult to plug in the USB 3.0 connector front panel header. If you have a board which is affected or you cannot connect in your connector properly, they will actually send you a USB 3.0 extension free of charge. So that will basically move the header into a slightly different location so you can connect it up a lot easier. So that's really good. What else is it? Rattly fans. Some people complain of rattly fans, but it's just where the screws are tightened up too much from the factory. So you loosen off the screws in the fans in the front and the noise goes away instantaneously. So that is very little to be concerned about. But other than that, yeah, it's a very, very nice case. Retail price here in the UK, around about 75 quid from places like Overclockers, eBuyer I think got it as well. Amazon are a little bit more expensive, I think at the moment about 80, 85. But fantastic case. I really do like it. And I would say if I was looking to do another build now and I had that sort of money, it would definitely be a toss-up between the Series 330 and the Lian Li 207. Possibly the 216 might also be included in that mix. I really did like the Lian Li 216. And this kind of is a continuation. So you've got the Lian Li 205 or 215, then you have the 216, now you've got the 207, which is kind of following on in that tradition of having a lot of very, very cool features at very good pricing, all round about 70 quid, 70 to 80 quid. So yeah, it's pretty good. Like it. Skystalker says, what is a big Bristol? It must be a UK thing. Yeah, it comes from Cockney rhyming slang. So, probably going to get demonetized for this, but what now? Cockney rhyming slang, if you've not heard of it, is like they use another word to say something else. So, Bristol cities would be, you know, the lady adornments, or even male adornments, on the front of the chest. And if you Bristol Cities rhymes with the word which I'm probably not going to use, if you see what I mean. So Bristol Cities got reduced down to Bristols.
He's got it.
Yeah, you got it. There you go. I think most of them, most of you got the idea. But yeah, that's where it comes from. So Bristol City. Thanks, Toge. JB27, I just read boobs and now interested. Yeah, whereas normally as soon as anything like that is mentioned, Clicktape Kev's like, straight in. Dave Aiken says, planning on growing some Bristol Cities this Christmas. Oh dear. Oh dear. That did hurt my chest. Right, what else have we got? So we've got 2 giveaways. Did I show you the in-win fans last time? The daisy chain fans?
Otis says yes.
Oh, thank you.
Did you say? I think you might have shown them when they were broken ones.
Oh, I did, didn't I? Yeah.
Or did you?
David Under says, I'm losing mine with diet and weight loss. Good for you. It's funny how the conversations just goes on it. Oh dear. Ira Wolfman says, Mike was feeling Tom and Dick. Yeah, that's not a rhyming slang. For sick. Tom and Dick sick. JB27 says, hello everyone, including kitties. How you doing, James? Mincer. Micer Glancer. That was a Freudian slip, wasn't it? What are your top 3 favourite PC cases at the moment? I would say top 3 at the moment. That is tough. I'm slightly erring on the side of slightly more budget orientated cases, but I would say maybe the Series 300 stroke 330 stroke 350 MX, put that into one category. That's what I have my daily driver in. I would say the Lianli 216 or maybe the 207. That is either one of those. I would say possibly more the 207. I think the 207 actually offers a little bit more in terms of flexibility. I think I'd have to say as well the Montech 903 Air Max, or Max Air, Max 309 Air, whatever it is. That's a fantastic case. It's huge. But yeah, that's a lot for the money. You get that for about £60 here in the UK at the moment. So yeah, that if you're looking for a budget case which is just going to move an absolute shit ton of air and looks quite good as well, the 903 is a very, very good choice. Other than that, I do love the Series 500. I really wish they would update that. That's the case I've got behind me. I just love the flip open side. I know for most people it's completely irrelevant, but I just love the modularity of this. And like, if I ever need to do anything, I can just undo the screw from the side. I can gain access to the power supply. It's like, oh, what power supply have I got in there? Oh yeah, I got that one. What cables have I got in there? Oh right, I can see. It's just really easy to work with. Like the amount of times I wanted to change this thing out just to have something a bit different, but it's just so nice to use. Like the USBs are on the side so they face me, so I don't have to kind of trawl around on the top. The front panel comes off easy. It doesn't pick up any dust. Just Dave unplugs the power on a regular basis. But it's a very, very nice case and it's very well constructed. If this had a different front panel, like if the scoop on the front, some people don't like, I get it. If it had a more normal front panel, this would be probably the perfect case because there's very little to dislike about it. It's very, very practical. It's very, very spacious. 140mm fans, 3 140s in the front, 1 in the back. You can put a radiator in the top as well pretty easily. It's just a really nice case to work with and to use. I really genuinely do like it. If I didn't like it, it wouldn't be there. It would be on Facebook Marketplace or in the loft. 100%. So yeah, I think the Series 500 I think is actually one of the weird ones which Thermaltake have done and then kind of just abandoned it and gone with the Series 300 range, where they've had already 2 revisions, the 330, which is excellent, and the 350, which again is also excellent. So yeah, it's weird. I don't know. I'd love to see an updated version of that with maybe a glass front and also possibly the scoop disappearing a little bit. But other than that, it's fine. Rasher says, hinge door is great. I hate thumb screws. Yeah, I do.
Dom.
JB says, I have that Montec mic. Love it. Yeah, the Montec case is awesome. Toe says, Mike, surely you have to mention a Montec case. I know you've been liking those recently. Yes, bingo. Yeah, it's good. The 903 is... it's a weird one. I really like the design of it, but some people think it looks a bit dated because of this kind of the triangle-y side thing, and I do get that. It is very reminiscent of the GameMax F15, which actually the F15 really should have an honourable mention as well, because that's still around about 60 quid. But the fans are a little bit kind of showing their age and they're hard to replace. But yeah, still a very good case. And in fact, actually, yeah, because the GameMax F15 is basically the Liancool 205 or 215. They're both the same case, identical. So if you like the Liancool 215, but it's a bit expensive for you, get the GameMax F15. It's the same thing. Dom, you mentioned posting some cases in X Review chat. Will there be any white ones? Not sure. Possibly. If there's something specific you're after, possibly let me know. But yeah, there's definitely 2 black ones. There might be a white one. I'm trying to think. I have got a case at the moment which is currently being used as a cat ladder. It's in the box, don't worry, but it's literally the cats use it to get into the window. So I'm slightly hesitant to sell it, but it really doesn't need to be there. But we'll see.
We can put a different one there.
Haven cases, someone mentioned there, the Haven case. I'm not sure about the Haven case. It looks interesting, but I don't know. The thing is, Haven is just been added to the portfolio of overclockers, which is overclockers, it's part of a massive group which owns or is joined with people like Ducky, what's that brand of gaming chair? Can't think the brand off the top of my head now. Noble Chairs. Who else is there? There's basically there's a whole bunch of companies which overclockers is all part of this big group, and that Haven Cases is part of that group. It's all part of Case King as well. Case King DE, which is like a massive company. So I'm kind of waiting for the overclockers to reach out and say, Mike, do you want one of these cases to review? And I'm not really keen on it. I don't know why. I just get a little bit of a thing about it. A feeling. I didn't like it. It's probably a great case, but it just, I don't know.
JB.
Hey Thanos, how are you? JB. Crap Joke Saturday. How do you fit 100 math teachers into a classroom that only fits 99? I do not know.
Greg.
Greg, when did RGB first become the bling for PC builds? Probably about 2001, 2002. think in 2000, no, maybe even 99. As early as 99, there were cold cathode tubes, which technically aren't RGB, but they were available in either green, blue or red normally. So they were in RGB colours. The cold cathode tubes were basically illuminated tubes about 12 inches long, had little plastic blocks at each end, and you just stick it into the bottom of your case and it would uplight the case. So that is when the era of plastic side panels or cutouts first started to be quite mainstream. So I'm sure that was about 90, maybe as early as 98, mostly 99. The very early 2000s is when RGB started to become a thing, more so with, I think one of the first cases to have illuminated fans was probably the Antec 900 series. They had very small discrete blue LEDs in the fans, which came originally from, I think it was the P160 case, the aluminium one, which had 3 slots at the bottom, and those were blue LED uplit. So blue LED uplighting and internal lighting was becoming more popular in the late 90s. So that then evolved into the cold cathode tubes, then illuminated fans, so clear fans with RGB or lighting around them. Then 12 volt RGB became a thing probably about 2006, I think, maybe a little bit earlier, about 2006. And then the 5 volt addressable RGB probably about 2000 and, I don't know, maybe 2010. It did take quite a while for the 5 volt addressable to come and be mainstream.
Danny's Bird's house is in. Is that someone who bought a PC off you?
Danny's Bird Shed.
That's the one.
Hey, how you doing? Danny, is that the Danny who I upgraded your PC? Well, sold you a PC, then upgraded it recently. I think it is. Dave Aiken says, yeah, wasn't much RGB in 1999, just R, G or B, definitely.
And Tooge. It's highlighted with your name.
Tooge. Mike, here's a good talking point. New GPUs not used. What do you recommend at 200 quid, 300 quid, 400 quid and 500 quid? Honestly, in terms of pricing at the moment, I am very, very, very out of the loop. For 200 quid, it's probably going to be, if it's new, 200 quid isn't going to get you a lot. It's going to be realistically like an RX 6600. You're not going to get much better than that. I think I've seen a 6650 for 230, somewhere around there. 300 quid. Again, I've not really got much of an idea when it comes to those sort of graphics cards because I very rarely look at them. I tend to go by the NVIDIA Founders Edition cards, look at what prices they are for the individual price classes, and then take it from there. I generally don't pay much attention to much in the mid-range for AMD because it's such a weird market that it's massively dominated by NVIDIA. Like, is it something like 80% of all graphics cards are NVIDIA sold? So although AMD have got some solid offerings, people just don't want to buy them, and I don't understand why. Like, does anybody really care about ray tracing? I don't.
7800 XT.
Yeah, the £400 mark. Yeah, 7800 XT is pretty much the best bang for buck by a significant margin.
200 quid equals 6600 XT, 300 6750 XT.
Yeah, so I'm a million miles off. Yeah, 500 quid is your 4070 Super. I think that is where the division is really kind of been more obvious. So when you've got the 7800 XT, that was originally about the same price as the 4070. Now the gap is about £100, which it's difficult to see what that actually means. Does that mean that the AMD cards are losing value, or does it mean that the NVIDIA cards are holding value? normally things get cheaper as they become older and the next generation is on the horizon. So it's hard to say where it's going, but yeah, the 4070 and the 7800 XT were basically neck and neck performance-wise. There's very little between them apart from RTX titles. So in terms of raw performance, sometimes the 7800 XT actually does outperform the 4070, and now it's about the best part of 100 quid cheaper. So yeah, the 7800 XT is a phenomenal value for money card, and I've still got one here somewhere. I looked at it the other day. I only looked, I didn't touch. It's got cat hairs on it. So I bought this one almost, not when it came out, but not far after. And it's basically lived its life in a box. I've barely touched it. I had it in my computer for, I think, about 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And it just didn't inspire me at all. And especially seeing as I've got the 6800, the RX 6800 up there, the Swift edition, which in real term use actually felt the same. I didn't notice a difference between the two at all, which was not entirely unsurprising because, again, it's that kind of 5 to 10% difference you're very rarely going to know. Imagine if you took your car for a service and it came out and it was 5% faster. Would you notice it? You probably wouldn't.
I noticed they blew my tyres out.
Yeah. JB27 says, peace out lads, lasses and those in between. Bless you.
Up above is the answer to that joke.
Oh, what was the answer to the joke? I didn't see.
Just above.
Just above.
In case you missed it, he says.
Ah, very good. You carry the one. Maths teachers. That's what you did there. Danny's Birdshed says, that's me, mate. Awesome. Glad you're enjoying your PC, hopefully. Hopefully you're not in the chat to complain or ask technical questions. Why is it not working?
Hi, Ali.
Vianney, sorry, I'm scanning through the chat here. DM says that AMD are going to leave the high end to Nvidia. Yeah. Thanos says, I got a 1660 Super. Am I good, Mike? Hey, as long as it does what you need it to do, you're all good. Skystalker says, I have my 7900 GRE. I quite like it. The 7900 GRE is the card I wish I'd bought. It came out just after I bought this. And I was like, oh, balls. Because the 7900 GRE, especially for video editing, is a little bit better because of the way the architecture is on the card. But this was okay. But for video editing, it's not an NVIDIA card. So it isn't as good. To be honest with you, though, nice card. And I honestly don't know what I'm going to do with it. I will probably end up putting this in a PC to sell at Christmas time. But is anyone going to have the money to buy a kind of... What am I going to get for this? If I sold this second hand now, I bought this for, I think, 489 almost when it came out. Because it was like the Founders Edition. Realistically, what am I going to get for this now if I try to sell it?
Probably fat.
Like, they're about £400 new to buy. It's in kind of as new condition, but I guess I'm going to have to sell it for like 350, 370. So I've basically lost like 100 quid straight away and not even used it. Which kind of makes sense because we said that earlier about the 7800 XT between the 4070. If I tried to sell the 4070 now, I'd probably get almost the same money as what I paid for it. O'Reilly says 350, yeah. Dutch Jan says German autobahn. I will notice that 5%. It's true.
There's quite a few questions coming down if you go downwards. Don't know which way you do.
Yeah, I am. I'm going scrolling back up now. Letter says, love my XFX 6900 XT. Is a great GPU. Toad says, good point. Mike, how do you feel about AMD not attempting a King of the Hill card? I think AMD will attempt a King of the Hill card, despite what they're saying publicly. I think they're starting to learn the lesson of they cannot keep making these rash, bold claims to keep the shareholders happy. And by lessening the anticipation, you actually, it's like anything. If someone says to you, I'm going to come round to your house, oh, I've got a couple of bars of chocolate for you, don't get excited, it's not a lot, but I thought I'd get you a bar of chocolate. So they kind of told you up front that they're coming around, they're going to give you a couple of bars of chocolate. Now if they turn up and they come up with a freaking hamper, you'll be like, oh my god, this is amazing, because you didn't have your expectations set that high. And I think AMD, if they've got any intelligence at all, the best thing to do is to aim low. Aim low, shoot high. That always works. Look at what they did with the 9800X3D. They kind of kept relatively quiet. They didn't really say a lot about it. It came out and it turned out it was a great processor. It's a decent upgrade. And a lot of companies have done that in the past and have come out with these things. And it's like, wow, this is really good. Like, why didn't they make a song and dance about it? And that's the thing, you get that positivity because you're not expecting much because they haven't overhyped it. And then to come out and be like, some people be a bit like, this isn't as good as I thought it was going to be. So I think AMD possibly will actually pull a magical rabbit out of the hat because they haven't set the expectations high. They haven't said we're going to be a competitor. They're quite happy to sit back and just say, look, it's going to be a nice graphics card. It's going to be a great value for money. It won't be the most powerful GPU on the planet, but it's good value. So you kind of, your expectations there. It's like, well, okay, this thing may not get the same FPS as a 5090, but it's probably going to cost a few £100 less, which is awesome. So I think that's a pretty good way of going about it. And I think as well, when you're in a position that you are either making something or selling something or whatever it is, if there's a niche which has been left somewhat open and you have a product which can fill it, you should look at that niche, because obviously if you want to compete in any market, you have to find a space in the market and go for it. Like anything, it's like this, you can't have all the companies making high-end graphics cards because ultimately they'll just end up pricing each other out of the business. And being that AMD and also Nvidia and Intel for that matter are all majority shareholder owned by the same 5 companies, like why would they want to do that? Clearly those shareholders are steering the companies and saying, well, you're doing really well on this architecture, so you aim for the ceiling. You're doing not so well at the moment, we're still learning here, so maybe you aim for the mid-range, and then you go, yeah, you're kind of learning, you're on that learning path, so we'll stick you somewhere in the middle. So the companies that own all of these companies know exactly what to do and who to target each market for and fully exploit those price points. Because obviously if Nvidia aren't going to enter the budget market, AMD can charge whatever they want. So if it's £100 graphics card, they can charge 200 because there's nothing else to buy. So they're making profit. Likewise, Nvidia, if they've got the King of the Hill graphics card, they can charge $2,000 for it. $2,500, $3,000, because who else is going to challenge them? So they can wring out as much money as possible out of those products because people will buy them out of either necessity, greed, or just the fact they want to treat themselves. That's the way that the market works. And I think with AMD choosing the kind of mid to low and Nvidia being the mid to high, gives the shareholders the absolute most profit they're going to get out of it. So I just have a look through. Hopefully does that really answer the question? I think that's what's going on in the market. Dave Aiken says, I got an XFX 7800 XT and the XFX 6800. I can't tell a difference in most of the games I play at 1440p. That was exactly what I found. You honestly, unless you do a benchmark, you cannot tell the difference. And I think that is why benchmarks have become important, but also completely irrelevant. Because ultimately, like, there's a certain point that you pay, and anything past that, it just feels the same. So unless you're actually like looking at the FPS counter in the screen or doing the benchmarks, you have no idea if it's faster or not. Because how are you going to tell between 120 FPS and 140 FPS? You'd have no idea. Especially when a lot of games these days have got like stutters because they're online. Like Fortnite. Even if you buy a 4090, you got 64 gigs of RAM, the fastest processor on earth, you are still going to get stutters in your game. Which kind of is a bit pointless, especially if you're looking at performance metrics, because you're like, well, what's the 1% lows? Well, they're awful. But I've spent £6,000 on a PC. Where's Fortnite? So I could have spent less. Well, yeah. And a more consistent gameplay. Probably not, but maybe less jarring, because you're not going from like 300 FPS down to 2. You're going from like 60 FPS down to, I don't know, 10. It isn't as jarring. Hussein says there are tweak videos to make Windows 11 soft. I watched your videos for both Windows 10 and Windows 11, then tried the settings on my systems. Fast BIOS time, less latency, less process on Task Manager, and more game focused. I can say Windows 10 is much better. Am I correct? Thank you very much, sir. Well, yeah, in general, Windows 10 is probably the better operating system to use for gaming. Although, depends on your hardware. Some hardware, modern hardware, does prefer the architecture of Windows 11. So it's not a cut and dried answer, unfortunately. If you're using hardware which is maybe 2, 3, 4 years old, Windows 10 is probably going to be the way to go. Or alternatively, get Windows 11 LTSC, which is the long-term service candidate, I think they call it, which has got almost all of the Windows 11 crap weeded out of it, and is very, very fast. So yeah, Windows 11 LTSC, but you do need to get a license for it, which is sometimes difficult. Antonio says, upgrading my 7800X3D to the 9800. Plan on building a cheap micro ATX for the 7800. Came up to $595 without GPU. Ira Wolfman, €700 for 7900 XT. Rasher's listed his system there. The old IQ 465X RGB. That's a great case. I missed that. I used to have that one in the background there. Just reading through. Meister Glancer. I got the name right this time. Which do you prefer, Mike? Low temps CPU or low power consumption? I don't know. There's probably a pretty significant link between the two. I like my CPUs to idle around about 30 to 35 degrees Celsius, so about 10 degrees over ambient temperature, and I generally like to have them idling at as low a wattage as possible, because my PCs generally are idling. So like when I say idling, Discord's probably running, maybe a couple of Chrome tabs, probably Outlook as well, a few background tasks. But that realistically shouldn't be burning through more than about maybe 15 to 20 watts of power. Although I have noticed recently with Intel's BIOS updates, it's closer to 30 watts these days, and AMD systems always seem to idle around about 30 watts, 30 to 40 watts. Which for me seems a little bit on the high side for idling. It might be just the way they're reporting the figures now, but it seems like they're idling higher than they have done previously. And they seem to be hotter as well. AMD chips generally tend to idle around about, probably about 10 degrees warmer than Intel ones. Intel do seem to go into those kind of sleep states or utilize those efficiency cores a little bit better. Just in my instance, and being that I've got both the same computers in the same room, it's quite easy for me to see between the two. So I do notice it quite a lot. Patrick Bell says, damn, just moved my graphics card to the first top X16 slot and now my audio outline doesn't work. Hope and pray that you didn't scratch one of the traces by the audio chip. So I'm going to look if there's anything else which I've mentioned. Not.
Did you do Nick Barnes? There was one earlier.
I didn't say Nick Barnes. What was your question, Nick? Post it again.
And anyone else with questions?
Yeah, if anyone else has got questions, feel free to ask now. I'm starting to run out of steam now, so we'll probably wrap things up shortly. Patrick Bell says, now I have to listen to Mike with the crappy speaker on my monitor. Oh no. Ah, right, so you're still getting audio from the HDMI through, but okay. I see. David Andrew says, Mike, BlackRock and Vanguard own less than 15% of Intel, AMD and Nvidia. Yes, but BlackRock, Vanguard, Stateside, JP Morgan, and I can't think of the other ones off the top of my head. They are all basically inter-owners of each other. So although individually they've only got stakes of maybe 15, 20, 30%, when you add all of them together, that makes a massively significant lobbying group to basically steer the ships. And like BlackRock have just said now they're going to rebuild Ukraine. So that gives you some idea of the size of company and their kind of intentions. They're huge companies and they can basically do kind of almost whatever they want. So if they see a way of wringing money, because they're an investment broker, they're basically an investor. So their idea is to buy up chunks of company, control the company, and then make money for their shareholders. Think Pretty Woman. If some of you are old enough to have seen that. So basically they buy in these companies and they basically split them up and make as much money as they can off them. Or they keep hold of them and steer them in the right direction to make money. Because that's what they do. They're there purely to make money. They're not to grow economies. They're not to help you out. They are literally there to make money. And they don't care how they do it. Danny's Birdshed, will your AMD card go in my PC, Mike? It would. Yes, it would. I'm trying to think what, yes. Actually, a 7800X 3D with, a 5700X 3D with a 7800 XT is probably a very good pairing. David Under says BlackRock is bigger than most countries. Oh yeah, BlackRock's GDP, or their turnover, or their kind of wet worth, is astronomical. Absolutely astronomical. Nick Barnes, question, can Wi-Fi signal be... I did actually see this earlier, but I skimmed over it. Nick says, question, can PC Wi-Fi signal be improved by fitting a longer antenna? My PC is 8 foot from mesh and signal varies from double figures to 800. Yes, well, not so much a longer antenna, but ones with a better gain on them. If you look on Amazon or eBay and just look for high gain antenna with an SMA connection, that's the traditional screw-on ones, those will significantly improve your experience. Also, look out for anything which might be on the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum in and around that area. So things like cordless handheld phones, microwave oven in a nearby room, other Wi-Fi adapters or devices like smart plugs, home plugs, anything like that. Also anything metal or anything concrete. Anything concrete or metal between a router and the intended signal is basically like a brick wall to a human. It's possible you can get through it, but you need a sledgehammer. So yeah, do be careful with that. Alternatively, if you've got a USB adapter, because obviously Wi-Fi cards, if they're ones that are plugged into a PCI Express slot, your antenna are going to be at the back. So ideally you want to try and get them up and away, because also as well, think about your router, depending on what router you've got. If your antennas on the router are horizontal, vertical, you want your antenna on your receiving device to be horizontal, I believe, because you want your aerials to be opposing rather than being like that. So if they're all like upright, I don't think that is as good a signal as having one like that and one like that. Anyone who's into radio stuff will possibly be able to answer that better than me, but I'm pretty sure that if you have one of the antennas should be 90 degrees to the other. Possibly. Ira Wolfman, thank you very much. A member for 1 month. Thank you very much. Please like the stream, guys. Yeah, I agree. And also, Ira Wolfman has gifted 5 Mike's Unboxing reviews and how-to memberships.
And then do the lights.
Thank you very much. Kath's about to get up and do the lights. So Kenny D was gifted a membership by Ira Wolfman. Mark Marlowe as well was also gifted by Ira Wolfman. Back for More also gifted a membership, and Islanda was gifted a membership. And also Macaulay 4431 was gifted a membership by Ira Wolfman. Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Should we gift some?
Yeah, we've got some ones we can give away as well, so let's do that. I'll quickly scan through and see if there's another question. Rick says, anything I'd consider now is a decent priced 4TB NVMe drive on Black Friday. Yeah, I'm looking for NVMe drives on Black Friday. That's about all I need these days. So, we've just gave away some memberships as well. Ash Eternal, LD, Toe Gunner, Dave, and Derek Nixon, all gifted memberships from Mike's Unboxing. That's us, me and Kath. Enjoy, have some early access. Thanos says, Mike, which is the latest GPU my Tomahawk B450 can afford? Well, you can use any of the modern ones. The PCI Express Gen 4 will work on there. They'll just work at a slightly slower speed. So ideally, I suppose on PCI Express Gen 3, the last ones would have been the 1080 Ti. I think the 20... Actually, was the NVIDIA 20 series, were they PCI Express Gen 4 or Gen 3? I'm not sure, actually.
Did you see Danny's bird shed?
If not, a 1020. No, I don't think I did.
Might be a little gift Xmas present to myself if you want to let it go.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, Danny, that sounds good. At least I know what the PC is. We should be able to do that. I'm not sure if we might need to upgrade your power supply. Might be okay. If not, if the 7800 XT needs, because that uses quite a lot of power. As I said earlier, I've got the 6800, which is, I thought was basically the same. I could do that a lot cheaper, and it uses less power. That's what Dave Aiken in the chat said he's got with his 5700 X3D as well. And he says, an excellent combo. Mish Tech, how you doing? What am I looking for? Yeah, Dom, that was it. 2000 series is Gen 3. Alright, yeah. So if you're on a B450, then the 20 series cards will be the ones to look for. But then realistically, they weren't that much better than the 10 series. So if you're looking for value for money, what you're on a 1660 at the moment? Yeah, probably a 2070 or 2080 would probably be a decent upgrade. Mish Tech says, how goes the China motherboard? It's not too bad. I have used it. We went through, did an unboxing and tour of it earlier. I don't mind it. It's a little bit quirky, and it is a risky proposition for a lot of people, but what I think is the takeaway is if you're using it as a secondary system or you're building a system, then I think it's fine. If you're building it and put it into a PC to sell, I think that potentially then becomes slightly more problematic, because if you ever get issues with it, you're screwed. You'll have to replace the board, I expect. It's unlikely you'll get any form of warranty with it. So yeah, that's part of that risk. If you are someone who sells PCs, flips PCs, probably not a great idea to put such an unknown quantity in that into a PC, just in case people want to do upgrades or whatever later on, and maybe there's not a BIOS update, or maybe there's not a driver or something. So it is potentially risky. If you're building it for like a standalone little PC to put behind your monitor or your TV for like a home theatre, or you just want a small portable PC for working and a little bit of on the side gaming, it's absolutely fine. And for the money, it's not an outrageously good bargain, but if you are into tinkering and you want to do a little ITX rig for kind of 75 quid, it's great. Hey Charlie Holmes, how you doing? Andy Archer, did you mention the range of CPUs it supports? Oh, what, for the China board? Toge says, Mike missed my question. Where was your question, Toge? Toge, sorry. It's because we had Doge before, wasn't it? I'll keep on trying to say the same thing. Put your question in again. Oh, Toge, when will Intel catch up to AMD? First or second gen time? I don't know. I think that is a tough one. In terms of the kind of mind share of the PC gamer, I think it's going to take a while. Might even take longer. In terms of business buyers building business machines or people building video editing machines, like professional level stuff, I don't think Intel have got anything to worry about at all. And I think they will become more competitive as soon as they iron out some of these little kind of problems that they're having, getting the performance that they expected out of the chips. I think a couple of BIOS updates, very much like Intel's ARC graphics cards. When they first came out, they were hugely disappointing and buggy as hell. But as we've seen, when they put their minds to it, they can make those cards incredibly good for especially what they were price-wise at the time. Like if you've got an ARC A750 now or A770, they're still absolutely cracking cards. And the ray tracing is actually really good on them now. So hopefully they manage to pull off something very similar. And I think being as the CPU market share is massively important to Intel, because obviously Intel, I think the problem will be resolved quickly. They did say that there will be various patches in BIOS releases either towards the end of this month or the very earliest they can in December. So I would hope by mid-December we should start seeing Intel clawing back some of the lead that they've lost. Rasher says, if AMD and Intel merges, will they have a monopoly? Again, like I said, Intel and AMD are basically functionally part of the same group, because who owns them? So even though it's kind of like, you get those memes, don't you, of like the guy ripping up the AMD logo or the Intel logo or whatever, it's kind of, we're all in our own little camps. Like there's the AMD fanboys, there's the Intel fanboys. Basically it's the same company. It really is. The only reason they're not the same company is because obviously Monopolism Mergers Commission gets involved, and it's like, no, you can't have a monopoly, even though technically, like, because of who owns them, they are a monopoly. Anyway. William Bodie says, I don't hope Intel ends up like IBM did. Yeah, or Cyrix. Remember Cyrix? They're still going, you know. John David Sullivan says, be interesting to see what happens. I would be interested in the Core Ultra series if they manage to claw something back. I'm always one of those people where I like value, but I also like to support the underdog. So I think in this round, as much as I do like using AMD stuff for some things, I am going to be trying to push Intel. I really am. And I know it seems like I'm coming from a very weird standpoint on that. I haven't used Intel chips in a very, very long time until very recently, where I started using the 12th gen chips. I completely missed 9th, 10th and 11th gen. Maybe did 1 or 2 videos for the whole generation. But the 12th gen was one which really caught my interest because they started to get like really good and really cheap for what they were. But AMD got really good and better at the same time, or kind of on par. And they've now sort of eclipsed them a bit. So yeah, Intel are technically, even though they're a much, much bigger company, maybe they're not in terms of market share or market value now. I don't know, I haven't looked in ages. But yeah, I would like to see AMD claw something back. It's always nice to see that competition and to have the engineering know-how to have a processor or a product that is struggling, and then to write software or code to turn that into something which is much better than it was. That really does impress me. Nvidia does the kind of the opposite way round. They just have like really good hardware to start with, and they just write some crappy drivers and crappy software, and it's like, well, there you go. It is what it is. It ain't going to get any better. So this day one is going to be your kind of your high spot. It's only going to get worse from here on in. Whereas with AMD and Intel to some extent, they drop a product and then they tweak it after. So they fine-tune the drivers, they fine-tune the BIOS. Like AMD's famous for their fine wine technology, where graphics cards and drivers and CPUs generally get better as time goes on. So hopefully we'll see that more from Intel this time. Thanos says, I like NVIDIA GPUs more than AMD. Yeah, you're with, it seems like 80% of the buying market. Charles says, I worked in a computer shop for a few months back in the late 1980s. 1998, sorry. I built a few machines with Cyrix CPUs. I was building PCs around that sort of time. For people on the side now and then, and yeah, the Cyrix M2 chips I think I was using, which were, yeah, they were mad chips. That is the time when the AMD K5 series was out with the 3D Now technology, which was at that time again was really giving Intel a hard time. But then you had Cyrix chips, which were kind of mopping up the lower ground. But those were the days when you could buy a motherboard, like a socket X370, and it was just like one motherboard type or one chipset. And then you had, well, not one chipset, one kind of format, and all the manufacturers' processors would fit onto it. So you could buy like a socket S370 motherboard, you could put an AMD processor on, you could put an Intel processor on, you could put a Cyrix processor on. It was awesome. There's a lot of choice, so you could do a lot of things. It wasn't until shortly after that they went to the slot 1 design for Intel, and AMD had slot A, and that is when the division really kind of kicked in. It's like, oh damn, I liked where we were. It was great. We had flexibility. Anyway, there you go. So I think, have we got any more of those things to give away, or is that done? Okay, good stuff. Okay, so if there's any last minute questions, quickly fire them in the chat. If not, I think we will we'll wrap this stream up, because we've been going now for, how long have we been going for? We've been going for, I can't even see how long. Stream settings, no, analytics, I have no idea. It's getting on for 3 hours anyway. My throat is starting to go, so I shouldn't overstress myself. Charles Ballard says 2 hours and 45 minutes. That ain't bad. Atomic Sub says good night. You've had enough already. I don't blame you. Well, hopefully some of you've enjoyed tonight's conversation. Most of it being in English. I tried to, anyway. If you've got any comments or questions about the boards, let us know. Obviously, the B650i Night Devil, I think, is the one that's going to get most attention of the two boards tonight, because of obviously where Intel is. But we will try and persevere with Intel, and hopefully when there's some more budget orientated boards and potentially some better prices on the CPUs, it's going to be an interesting little battle heating up there. And with CES happening in 2 months' time, that seems weird. In 2 months' time, we'll be at CES. Well, we won't be there, but CES will be in 2 months' time. That's terrifying. That's next year. And of course, we've got the Singles Day sale for AliExpress. Again, we'll post the links and the discount codes in the Discord chat, so you can get the discount codes there. Should be some pretty good stuff. If you're thinking of buying anything from AliExpress, you're not too sure which sellers to use or whatever, then feel free to ask questions on the Discord in one of the chat rooms. We can give you some help and advice with who to purchase from. It's relatively straightforward. Just buy from people that have got loads of sales and reasonable feedback. If there's a company which is trying to sell something which seems outrageously cheap and they've only sold like 1 or 2 products, then obviously do use a little bit of judgment there, but certainly we can help you out should you need it. But I think that is pretty much going to wrap up this stream. Thanks for all your kindness, thanks for all your support, and so... Who's that?
That's Candy Kitten.
Hello, Candy.
You going to come and say hello?
Candy's a bit vocal. Hey, Candy. You alright, Babs? Hello. Right. Candy.
It's Grumpy.
Come here. You okay? You been out in the garden? You're not drinking my tea. Oi, don't bite that!
She ain't biting, she's cuddling it.
Oh, right.
She's cuddling Candy Kitten.
There's Candy. She's lovely. Yeah, thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you for your kindness, support, and all that kind of usual stuff. If you want to carry on the conversation, feel free to head over to the Discord. And please, people, use some of the chat rooms to actually talk in. It'd be nice to have some people talking in there, because no one ever talks. I know it's because we're somewhat British, and British people are very conservative and don't talk. But yeah, feel free to go into one of the chat rooms, just hang out in there. If someone wants to join you, they will do. It's weird. I don't know, we've got a lot of members, but no one ever talks in there. It's very strange. Anyway.
The younger ones used to years ago.
Yeah, that's true. We're all very busy. I understand that. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed the stream. If you have, leave a like. If you are new here and haven't already, hit subscribe and the chime notification. That way you'll be notified of future video releases. But for now, I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To. And hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. And we'll see you hopefully same time next week. Hopefully nothing goes wrong by then. You never know. And yeah, hopefully this will work. Hasta la vista, baby. I watched that the other night, actually, last night on Amazon Prime. Very good. Right, let's see if this works. 1, 2, 3, and end stream.